and corporate events. Currently taking catering orders, visit our sister company Twin City Minis Facebook page for details, or give us a call at 336-813-8002. Twin City Press Catering in Kernersville.
Are you concerned that if you pass away today, that your family will be left in a financial bind? Are you concerned that your nest egg is quickly eroding in the stock market? Do you want life insurance but confused about how to get it and if you would qualify? That's where I come in. My name is Terry Edwards with Secure Financial Partners, and I've been helping families over the last 20 years ensure the things that matter most: your life, your health, and your wealth. Give me a call today, Terry Edwards, 336-416-8327. Again, that's 336-416-8327. Your legacy is worth the call.
Hey, Panther fans. Right now on the SiriusXM app, hear the most in-depth Carolina Panthers coverage anywhere with Believe in Carolina Panthers, part of the Believe podcast network on SiriusXM. Hear from me, Desmond Johnson, and my co-host, Skylar Callahan from Sports Illustrated, and Panther great Jonathan Stewart as we break down the Panthers before and after every game through the NFL season. Your team, your podcast. Search BLEAV in Carolina Panthers on the SiriusXM app, Pandora, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you believe?
This is Terry Rozier, and you're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson on Tobacco Road Sports Radio on WWBG 1470 AM.
Like to have everybody's attention for a moment.
There's a stat. I don't like bringing up stats, but there's one stat about the Panthers.
In the world is James Harden better scorer than Michael Jordan?
No, he's more creative in that.
Traveling is not creative, Brandon.
You know, no matter what the score is, and they've said themselves, whether they're up 10, down 20, whatever, they know they can turn it on whenever.
Why did you have to bring up the Cowboys in this conversation?
Lived in Texas for 2 years and just could not stand to watch Cowboys football.
All right, listen up.
Welcome to The Rundown. Here's Desmond Johnson.
And welcome into The Rundown. I am him, Desmond Johnson, here at WWBG 1470 AM, Tobacco Road Sports Radio.com. You can participate in the program per usual every Saturday morning by going to the Facebook Watch video or to the YouTube channel at Tobacco Road, youtube.com/at Tobacco Road Sports Radio. We're all over the place. We want to participate in the Saturday morning conversation. We got a lot to get to. 2 hours for you today, some program and notes. We'll get to all that as well. So welcome to everyone checking us out here. Got a loaded first hour here for you. Ryan Stone here with us. Larry Frank here with us. Brandon Blakeney here with us from somewhere in northern New York State, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, Jalen Gilkey in here with us as well. I'd send out usually I send out the bullets of what we're going to talk about on the rundown, usually around about Thursday afternoon. We kind of have a general idea of what we're going to hit and have an idea who's going to be on the panels and everything else. And then, of course, my Thursday got turned upside down as Bank of America Stadium put out the white pillow of smoke and said that Frank Reich was going to be the next head coach. First domino to fall. There was five that were open. This has been the longest, really, that we've gone without a single opening being covered. I think when Matt Rule got hired, it was like the first week of January. So, like, they really did due diligence this time around to kind of go through and figure this out. Panther Nation is a little hurt right now. I tried to stay away from Twitter on Friday and late Thursday because of it, because they're struggling. People are mad that Wilkes didn't get this job, including some of my buddies over on Believe in Carolina Panthers. Jonathan Stewart was very upset. He was in the building. He was actually in the stadium when they made the announcement, and did not take to it very well. But we've come around. We've had a couple days of sleep on it. Before I give my take on this, I wanted to go around the panel and give your takes on it because none of you guys here are Panther fans per se. So you've been watching it from the outside in. Good hire, bad hire. Ryan, we'll start with you. Former franchise player. Ryan and JP have picked up other work elsewhere and just are unable to continue to host franchise players. So I've taken that back on Friday afternoons. But Ryan will still be, of course, part of the Tobacco Road family, panels. My top play-by-play guy, he's still going to be around. So, Ryan, give us your take here real quick on the Frank Reich hire from the outside looking in.
I really thought that Steve Wilkes was going to get the job. That was just kind of – and I'd even come around on it. I didn't like that idea initially, but he really won the team over. I think it's just possible, and I understand that people are hurt. I get it. But I think it's just possible that Frank Reich had a better interview. Like, I think that's ultimately what it came down to. And Frank Reich, I mean – his last season had some hiccups and ups and downs, but he was a pretty good head coach for Indianapolis. I mean, he has a winning record, 7 games above 500. And I think when you really look at the landscape of the NFL, 4 teams that are still playing, they have offensive head coaches. I mean, it's not a secret. That's where the league has gone. And I think that Frank Reich, if I had to guess, he had a better plan as to addressing the issue of finding a quarterback, whether that's draft or going and signing somebody. My guess is that he just had a better plan and wowed the Panthers in that capacity.
From reports that are still trickling out. You're right about that. Frank Reich actually came in his first and second interviews, not just with like a wish list of coaches he'd have on his staff, but actual dudes he's already interviewed. Like he's already put a staff together. So he came into the interview like this guy would be my DC. I've already spoke to him. This guy's the OC. This guy's going to be the tight end coach, blah, 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 blah. And nobody else did that. And when I heard that, I was like, well, damn. Okay. Well, I mean, if you're that put together for something like this, and then the names I saw that he was bringing over got me kind of excited. I'm like, okay, this can work. Larry, let's hit you next. Your thoughts on this, because you were a big supporter of Wilkes keeping that job as well throughout the season. As we talked, you noticed the team was really turning towards him. Frank Reich has a history with Charlotte. I'll get into in just a bit. What's your quick thoughts on Frank Reich being the next Panthers coach?
You know, it's not so much that Frank Reich has gotten the job that bothers me. It's that Steve Wilkes didn't get the job that bothers me. I mean, we could say what Frank Reich is good and okay. He got fired last year because he couldn't get Jonathan Stewart and Matt Ryan to play together and win. Okay, but at the end of the day, the hell with the interview. The hell with the interview. The guy did an on-field job performance for you to show you what he was capable of doing. There is nothing more important than showing you. Some people just don't interview well. One of them, Bieniemy from KC. What? He's a great offensive coordinator, but can't land a job because of his inability to interview well. Look at what the individual did on the field. He took a 1-4 team that had no culture, had nothing going for them. Attitudes were bad. Everything about this team was bad, and he completely turned this team around and got them to the second to last game of the season, battling for a playoff position, guys. Yeah. I mean, you have to ask a question, and Des, I know you heard the interview I did with Doug Williams of the former quarterback of the Washington Redskins, and it's really disturbing what he said. If you listened, and I don't know if you had a chance to see the insert I put in from that interview yesterday on Frankly Speaking Sports Carolina, and I asked him, I said, Doug, what is going on? There are so many capable black quarterbacks in the league that are coaches in the league candidates, and they're not getting the job. What is wrong? And Doug Williams said it flat out. He said, owners are not comfortable sitting at a table with a black coach because they don't trust them. And I don't understand that. That is, I believe Doug Williams, what he says, but if that is in fact true, Des, come on. This is ridiculous, ludicrous, crazy that a guy, and I'm sorry, I never ever on this show questioned anything about race. Never. You never hear me talk about race, and that's the reason somebody didn't get a job. What else is it? The guy proved 100%. And you know what's going to happen, Des? He's going to get another job. There's other job openings as a head coach, and I guarantee you the guy's going to be successful wherever he goes.
It's funny because I've been hearing that was the main outrage I was seeing on Twitter and Facebook yesterday. It was mainly, and not just from black folks, from a lot of people saying that, this man didn't get a fair shake and to that effect. I'm just not catching that vibe. I'm really not catching that vibe. I'm really not. Because
what else could it be? What
Frank Reich had a better interview.
Yeah, he had a better plan. He literally came in with guys he's already talked to. Like no one else did that. I haven't even ever heard that before. Like where a guy goes in for a head coaching interview, he already has a staff in place. Like
Larry brought up Frank Reich being fired. Steve Wilkes went 1-15 as a head coach in Arizona. Like
that
wasn't his team.
He had the least talented team in the league.
No,
it didn't matter who was the coach then.
Yeah, that was irrelevant.
Frank Reich.
But Frank Reich,
hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Too many voices.
That was his team. That was his team. That was his Colts team that he built for the last 3 or 4 years. Steve Wilks took a team that Matt Rule just destroyed and got rid of Robbie Anderson, got rid of by far the best athlete on the team in Christian McCaffrey, and still won.
Wait. I was one of the biggest supporters of Steve Wilks, and everybody here knows that. But I cannot deny the fact he did not win the division. He did not get to the playoffs.
True.
He did not win a playoff game. Tepper was very adamant that he was going to have to do something extraordinary to keep this job. He laid this out at the very beginning.
Tepper's an idiot.
So for people, no, he's a billionaire and he's the owner. It's his choice. So for him to make that decision early on and stick to it, like everyone's acting like Tepper's lying behind their backs. Tepper told us when he fired Rule, he's only spoke to us 4 times. He told us, I want an offensive-minded coach next time we come in here. When he interviewed folks, it was 9 interviews. 7 of them were offensive coordinators. We knew what he wanted. He picked the best one. For Wilks, even as an interim, how many interim head coaches?
Okay, but because that's what he said, that's what he wanted, doesn't mean it's the best decision for the team.
Correct.
But he's not lying to you. That's my point.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody's accusing him of lying.
Yeah.
No, people are saying he's lying, that he didn't give him all the opportunity in the world.
I don't think he did give him all the opportunity. Well, I feel like he came down with the chips against him. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm a Panthers fan, but the Panthers are like an ex you still care about for me. I love them from a distance because of stuff like this. Because the Panthers are gonna Panthers, and I don't allow them to ruin my Sundays anymore. My thing is, Wilks came in. If he had the entire season, I think the Panthers are a playoff team, and I think they do win that division.
But he didn't.
He didn't because he didn't. But we're talking about they hired a guy that got fired less than 6 months ago because he's not good.
It was 2 months ago.
2 months ago, this man got fired. He had Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. They got him out of there.
He got fired in the middle of the season.
He got fired by an owner that replaced him with a television analyst.
Jeff Saturday is a
I mean, if you're gonna act like
Wilks did not
act like the Indianapolis Colts have talent, you don't know football. I'm sorry. They don't have football.
I'm sorry, Ryan. You're not in a position to question my football knowledge. First off, second off,
the Colts had 4 All Pros last season, bro. This is the same. It's the same roster.
The Colts have no talent.
They had 4 All Pros in 2021.
Hold on, the Colts
that were on their roster in 2022.
Hold on, guys. The Colts fell apart because they lost.
Jonathan Taylor is no talent.
You don't have a quarterback. You're not a team in the NFL. I think the Panthers have been the
Quentin Nelson, All Pro guard.
They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback.
That's what we've been talking about.
The Panthers don't either. It's the same thing.
And that's why Matt Rule got fired. And y'all are sitting there saying that Frank Reich got fired because of what Frank Reich did. No,
it is.
He didn't win.
If the team quits on you,
if the team quits on you, that's the coach's fault.
If Frank Reich had Andrew Luck for the 4 years he was the coach of the Colts,
I thought we said we're not doing ifs. I thought we said we're not doing ifs.
Anyway, I might as well lean.
No, we're talking about the season.
We're talking about facts. Y'all are talking about the Colts don't have
Let's circle back because Jalen, I haven't got to you yet, and I'm gonna get to you before I get to my opinion on this.
But
your thoughts on this on Frank Reich being hired over Steve Wilks for the Panthers?
Like Larry and Brandon said, man, I think Steve Wilks was the better fit just because of how he was able to galvanize the guys. If you're going to bring the majority of the same roster back next year, and from where they started the season as a team that was a dumpster fire that didn't look like they wanted to even put on helmets on Sundays at 1-4, and to be 1 game out of the playoffs, and really, if they had somebody that could guard Mike Evans, they would have been in the playoffs.
Don't get me
so let's be real. Like if they had one corner that could stop Mike Evans, they would have been in the playoffs.
Right.
And so to replace him with a guy who was fired 2 months ago, with a team that also was the second team in the NFL last year to look like they didn't want to play. I mean, they had the biggest point margin of the entire season. Negative, I can't remember the number, but I know they were the top of the least amount of points scored, most points given up list. So that's not. I don't understand what we're really talking about here. He's an offensive guru, but
yeah, I mean, I just want to say too, I feel like it's setting the team back when you got former players and current players that are sticking up for a guy. When you said last week too, Desmond, You were right. NFL guys don't just come out and speak about a guy. Like they're not very vocal like that. Yeah. If you got a culture, and it felt like Wilkes kind of reestablished the identity of the Panthers. The Panthers aren't a score 50 points on you team. We've never been that.
Never been that.
They are a run the ball and stop you and play defense type of team, grind you out, physical. Carolina's never going to be that sexy Pat Mahomes, air it out 50 times. We don't do that. Like, that's just not the Panthers' identity.
Hold on 1 second before Desmond goes.
Yeah, go ahead. Real quickly, before I get in here.
Real quickly. When Frank Reich was fired, listen to this. This team was last in points scored, like Jalen said, 14.7. They allowed 35 sacks. They were 27th in yards per game and tied for last in turnovers. What a great hire we just hired in Carolina.
Are y'all done? Are y'all good?
No.
No.
I would just say, as far as Frank Reich goes, like, the Eagles quit on Doug Peterson too, and Doug Peterson has gone down to Jacksonville and turned them around. So I mean, just because you lose it doesn't mean you can't coach.
But we've seen a lot of the opposite end on that too.
You're at y'all at a whole lot of extra.
Doug Peterson and the GM, they had a lot of disconnect as well.
All right,
it's the same thing with Frank Reich too.
Okay. All right, listen. I'm the biggest Panther fan on this panel. I was the biggest person for Steve Wilkes.
But you're also a Panthers delusionist.
Steve Wilkes got every opportunity in the world to land this position. And up until really yesterday, I was kind of in my thoughts on, it should have been Steve Wilkes. I can't sit here and lie and say that Steve Wilkes checked off every single box that Frank Reich checks off that I wanted for this coach. One of the reasons why I wanted Steve Wilkes, and now that I think back on it, the main reason why I wanted him was because he had a connection to Charlotte. He had a connection to the Panthers. We learned bringing in someone like Matt Rule. It's almost like the Carolina Tar Heel situation with Hubert Davis, where people wanted other guys coming in, like we should go outside the family, quote unquote. And I was the one adamant one saying, no, we should not. The whole point of it is to stay right where we are.
But Des, with that though, they were talking about Wes Miller though. That was still family.
But there was other candidates that were outside of Carolina that people wanted to come in here to interview. And I'm like, no, Hubert's been groomed for this for the past 8 years. This is sort of a similar situation. Frank Reich was the first quarterback in Carolina Panthers history. He threw the first touchdown in Carolina Panthers history. He lives in Charlotte. He has lived in Charlotte for the past 20 years. He is a part of the fabric of the community. His entire family lives in the state. He wanted the job. He wanted this job more than the rest of them did, except for maybe Steve Wilkes. Now, if it has to be somebody besides Steve Wilkes, I'm okay with it being Frank Reich. It's okay to be both at the same time. It's okay to be upset that Steve Wilkes didn't get the job, and okay that Frank Reich got the job. It doesn't have to be an either or. And
that's what I said at the beginning.
I'm worried that Panther Nation is going to make it either or.
Oh, the locker room is split. Everything is split right now. And the pressure,
because some 20 plus players, including captains, went to Frank Reich and met with him yesterday and pledged their support for Frank Reich. See, y'all are going about it as if y'all think that it's going to be a divided locker room. Y'all are going as if it's Skip Bayless talking about.
I'm not talking about the locker room when I'm talking about the divided. I'm talking about the whole. I'm talking about the whole fan base, like the culture. It's about to be
black and white. Like, it's not going to be that way. These people have jobs. They're going to play for Frank Reich. What do you think they're going to boycott? They're going to play for him. I mean, they're going to play for him.
Okay, so just because you show up don't mean you're going to play.
Right. I could show up to work every day. Don't mean I'm going to give you my
You could go to Des. You could go to school but not do no work. And have perfect attendance. You could have a 1.0 GPA.
That's my choice. I'm choosing not to do the work. I'm telling you, they're going to do the work. These people get paid for this. They get paid for this. These professionals. You're going to do the work. You're not going. Are you saying you're just going to come to work and do nothing?
No, but I mean, it's a difference between doing the work and being willing to run through a wall for your coach.
Okay, so you're saying that Steve Wilkes is the only coach in America that has that ability to motivate players to run through walls.
That's not even close to what I said.
That's what you're implying.
No, it's not what I'm implying. I'm talking about one team, one franchise, one situation.
Those players aren't going to play as hard for Frank Reich as they would have.
We don't know.
Did they play as hard? Did they play as hard for Matt Rule as they did for Steve Wilkes?
No, but they were saying the same word salad. They were still saying they were supporting Matt Rule.
Right. Of course they're going to say that.
So if wait. So if they're putting the same word salad out there in support of Matt Rule without the product on the field being produced on Sunday, they put that word salad out there for Steve Wilkes. The product on the field turns around, improves, and then the same word salad puts those 20 guys in a meeting with Frank Reich. So what is the difference? We've yet to see. We still don't know. But just because 20 guys come together in a meeting and say we're going to play hard doesn't mean the product on the field is going to be conducive to win.
I get that. But what I'm saying is y'all are assuming they won't play for him because
no,
he's not Steve Wilks.
I'm not assuming that. I just said that I don't think that the effort.
Give him a chance. Give the dude a chance. Let him build a staff. Let him get through an offseason. Let him draft.
I mean, but they wouldn't even have to do all this. They're setting the team back.
How are they
doing
because you have to restart. You're not at that. You're not where you. So when Matt Rule left, say they were here. When Steve Wilks, week 18, they were here. Now when Frank Reich comes in, you can't take this and build off that with Frank Reich. You have to start back at the bottom. You have to start back below where you took where Steve Wilks had it.
Remember something.
They're not below where they were when
Steve Wilks did it with less talent than Matt Rule. With less talent because you lost two of the main guys.
You lost an all-pro. All-pro.
Probably the best running back in football.
Absolutely.
We traded him away. We're the ones that he didn't leave us. We traded him away.
No, we're not saying he left. We're saying that they won games without him. Like they just looked better. At the end of the day, we have a job. They have a job, but they're still human beings.
But they were in every game.
Is it not okay to want something different? Is it not okay to want something different? Everyone here, I'm
grass ain't always greener.
Take the side of the argument.
I mean, ever since you fired Ron, the grass has not been greener. It's been brown.
Right. So
it's been brown.
Right.
So should grass dormant? It's been summer, fall, spring, everything. It doesn't matter, bro.
So should we not change what we've been doing for the past 28 years?
No,
y'all have been clowning the Carolina Panthers every single week.
But we've spoken about identity so much. We talked about identity so much. Like even you, when last week, Des, you were saying the Panthers are getting back to their identity.
Before Rule was fired, all you would say is, we don't have an identity. We don't have an identity. We don't have an identity.
Now we're going to restart and scrap the identity.
You find it for 12 weeks, and now it's up back to the drawing board. New identity.
I said about his connection to the Panthers in the first place.
We understand that.
Just because you live here and your daughter goes to school here and she works in the marketing department don't mean that's going to be conducive to the identity of a football team.
Nobody
don't have nothing to do with just because your cousin live in Greensboro and you was born wherever and all your people live in out east in Greenville. That don't mean that has anything to do with the identity of the football organization, the program. It's about the football points on the board.
I refuse to say it, but all this is y'all don't think that Frank Reich will do as good of a job as Steve Wilks. Point blank. That's all this is. All this is this. When nobody knows. Nobody knows.
But Des, this is what our show is. This is what our show is. What are we talking?
Like literally, y'all have to find the side that's against what the actual.
I think you're so optimistic when it comes to anything the Panthers do. That your brain is like, okay, fresh start, and I get it.
I get it. A good hire. Let's be honest. It wasn't a good hire.
I've been far from optimistic regarding this team.
Well, every time you talk to me, every time you talk to me, the season's about to start. The Panthers going 9-8. We're going 9-8. We're going to be 12-5, and we're going to shock the world.
It just your message, your energy towards Wilks right now is not the same.
Short, and we start off 1-4. So I wasn't that far off.
And why did it turn around? Why did you not end up 1-16?
Because we got rid of the dude that was making us lose games.
It's very hard to go 1-16.
Are we saying that Ben McAdoo couldn't have been the interim head coach and they won more games than
now we're doing that woulda coulda stuff again. We saw what Wilks did though.
You told us no ifs off the top.
Right.
Wilks finished 500.
And you keep bringing if. You're the only one that keeps saying if. You said no ifs off the top.
Let's talk about what happened. Wilks finished 500. He finished 6-6. He didn't get the job done. I'm sorry. I'm tired of putting this excuse on there.
He got the best out of Sam Darnold.
He wasn't the best.
That was the best.
Once I get interviewed,
that was the best Sam Darnold has looked in a Panthers uniform.
No, since this is the best he's looked probably in his career.
In his career, like they weren't. That was nowhere near a playoff team. We talking about no talent.
Having to carry the team. Any coach can do that. That's
smart.
Any coach can do that. So why hasn't the 4 coaches he had before that been able to do it?
Because they were stupid. Like literally.
But you just said any coach can do it. No, you just said any coach can do it.
No, Jalen, you cut me off while I was still talking. I said any coach that's smart would be able to do it. You just ran right in there. You didn't hear everything.
No, you said any coach can do it, but now you add smart.
No,
caveats is smart.
But
Can we
4
rewind this
coaches,
because it's on the tape? We're literally taping this. I know what I said
But
2 seconds ago. I was
4
there when I said
coaches,
it.
all of them are 5 coaches. All of them are dumb. All of them.
To not know how to use Sam Darnold to make him into a Pat Mahomes type quarterback.
But does that say more about why are we diminishing what Steve Wilkes is doing to make Wright look better?
We're not.
We're diminishing it, right?
You
We're
are.
diminishing
That's the
what he
crazy part
did.
about it.
Name an interim head coach that became a head coach.
No, I didn't say you did, Ryan. But Des, he definitely did.
I gave Steve credit.
And I've been giving him credit all year. Like I'm not.
And it's crazy
we
because
can go
you
down the list interim coaches that it's happened. That's not crazy.
Name an interim head coach that became a head coach and was successful going forward. There haven't been any. It usually doesn't work. Usually they don't even get this far in the process. For him to even get to a second interview is a nod to the job he did. And nobody wants to acknowledge that. They're all looking at, oh, well, it should have been him. It should have been
because if he wouldn't have got this far after what he did on the field and what the team did on the field, everybody would have been blowing Tepper's head off, talking about exactly because honestly, you know what?
What
okay.
they're doing it now. And that's my whole point.
Can I pose a question about
would have been the right decision. None of them.
Can I pose a question about
would have said it was because they were pandering. If they didn't, it would have been what we're having right now. And people are ignoring Reich's track record, his resume. The Colts aren't the only place he's been. He was the offensive coordinator in 2017 for the Eagles that won the Super Bowl. He got Carson Wentz $100 million deal. Look at Carson Wentz now without him. Like, stop acting like.
Look at Carson Wentz with him. Look at Carson Wentz with him. Look at Carson Wentz with him.
Carson Wentz 11-2.
Look at Carson Wentz with him.
With
Carson
him,
Wentz was MVP level that year.
Not the one MVP.
No.
Yeah.
No. The year before that, when he was just with the Colts, what happened? When he was just with the Colts, what happened with just with the Colts?
Jason Garrett was an interim coach with the Cowboys.
No, okay, but you just brought up Carson Wentz like that was a barometer. That's not a barometer. It's the same. It was the same pairing in Indianapolis.
I mean, he had
it was the same pairing.
Rivers. He had Phillip Rivers.
As the Super Bowl winning Eagles team did. He was surrounded by the same folks.
Not on the defensive side of the ball.
On offense,
Phillip Rivers at 37 years old. I mean,
Matt Ryan at 45.
There's still guys that have come in.
But we're still, but he still had Carson Wentz as well, and that was your barometer.
Carson Wentz was coming off an MVP season, damn near.
Yeah, that season was the season that Frank Reich was his OC.
That was Frank Reich. That was Frank Reich.
I'm talking about before he got to the Colts. Carson Wentz was terrible with the Colts.
Carson Wentz
terrible with the Colts.
Frank Reich was the Eagles' offensive coordinator in 2017 when they won the Super Bowl and beat the Patriots.
So when Carson Wentz your starting quarterback next year with Frank Reich, just go for it. That's your bed. As you made it.
Like 5 injuries between there and
I just want to say Jason Garrett was the Cowboys' interim coach and got hired. Took them to a few playoffs.
How did that work out?
I mean, he took them to the playoffs. It could work out better than Rick.
You asked for an answer to your question.
You asked for an answer to your question about a coach that had success as an interim.
Jason Garrett had success in Dallas.
All right, can I change the conversation real quick because we talked a lot about identity and that's fine. I get that's how the Panthers have won, but who says they have to play that way? Nobody wins that way in today's NFL. Nobody.
Who does?
Look who's in the playoffs. Nobody wins in today's NFL that way.
Yep.
What way is that?
The way you're saying the Panthers have
rounded out. Nobody wins that way.
The San Francisco 49ers?
The San Francisco 49ers.
They spread the ball all around the field.
Yeah. Miles Sanders is still 1,000-yard rusher.
Bro, that's not how the Eagles play.
But I'm saying
that's not how they
1,000
play.
yards. He's still a 1,000-yard rusher, and they play really good defense. They got 4 guys that have over 10 sacks.
This is the number
I'm
one.
talking about defense. I'm talking about offense.
Defenses.
I'm talking about offense. Defense. Defense.
The 49ers run.
The 49ers are the number 1 rushing team in the league.
They run the hell out of the football.
They also throw it all over the place.
Too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're top 10 in passing.
You can still have a good. We're not saying they can't pass the ball. We're saying that the ground game, though, We're saying why can't they do that with Frank Reich?
Why can't they do it both?
With who at quarterback?
Well, that's a different.
That's why I think Frank Reich got the job. Is because he's got a plan at quarterback.
We haven't had a quarterback in 5 years. We have used retreat after retreat. Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Teddy Bridgewater. They brought Cam Newton back with a busted shoulder and didn't even want him here. Like, it's been an ineptitude. You know how much money David Tepper has spent on quarterbacks since he's bought this team in 2017, and none of them have worked out?
On bad
you don't think that this billionaire owner is sick and tired of bringing in quarterback after quarterback and having a head coach that doesn't have an offensive background to be able to mold whatever quarterback it is? You don't think that they want a rookie quarterback to come there and learn from somebody like that?
It doesn't matter what the head coach's background is per se. If you get a good offensive coordinator, the offense is fine. It ain't like he's going to be calling the plays.
It's but you got to look at around the rest of the league, though, Brandon. If they did it that way and had to hire an offensive coordinator, there's not a lot of good ones out there right now. It's the bottom of the barrel.
This is not great. I will say
now there's not good offensive coordinators.
No. I was saying this is not the greatest head coaching market this offseason.
Which is why
just to clarify.
And that gives you more reason to stick with what you got.
Just to clarify, the 49ers were first in the league in total rushing offense. They were 14th in passing offense this year. So the ground and pound, grinded out.
They don't run.
And Jay,
they have the most effective rushing scheme and most creative rushing scheme.
Who are they running the ball with?
McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel.
That's why they mix it up.
They got multiple things.
It doesn't matter who you mix it up. You still running the ball. It don't matter who's carrying it.
Their attack is different than what Carolina does.
Who is saying that Frank Reich's going to come in here and just abandon the run game and throw it 50 times? Like, we're assuming all this stuff about Frank Reich. That's the part I'm not understanding.
Y'all are like saying that the run game is basically irrelevant. You're like, look at all these
teams. I just said you cannot be all run.
Just that.
Nobody's running a wing T in the damn NFL, Ryan. Like, obviously they're going to throw the ball. Obviously they're going to throw the ball.
We saw
they need a coach that actually supports that. Steve Wilkes.
How do we know he doesn't?
With this, because he didn't do it when he had the chance. He didn't do it while he had.
He ran the ball and they looked successful running the football.
On the days they did when they
y'all are talking about a scheme where the Panthers don't even have the players for that.
What scheme?
What are we talking about? Y'all are talking about.
We don't even know what the quarterback is. We haven't talked any scheme yet. All we're saying is
about their offensive scheme.
Yeah, we don't even know what if they're going to go get, like a Derek Carr, or if they're going to trade up and get a rookie quarterback to groom. It would make sense to do that now, even though I don't want them to lose draft picks for any quarterback in this draft, and I've been on record for that. I don't think any quarterback in this draft is worth losing, a couple second round picks or first or whatever for CJ Stroud. But since they hired Frank Reich, now I'm thinking that's probably the plan. That's probably why he got the job.
Absolutely.
They're going to bring in a young quarterback. Like
go get Will Levis.
Might as well at this point go get Will Levis. Go get Levis at this point.
I'm telling you, Des.
Swear to God, if they trade up to 5 for Will Levis,
this is your future.
This is what it started.
This is your organization. This is what you do.
Yeah,
you hire Frank Reich, and then you go get Will Levis.
Exactly, because that's the coach. That's what they would have done.
Y'all gonna stop the slander about the Panthers and things.
Will Levis, bring him on. He's a rushing. Will Levis.
It is what you do.
He's a rushing quarterback.
You go 5 and 12, 5 and whatever. 5 is your magic number. You got to 7 this year. Whoop-de-dee. But it is what it is. You'll be between 5 and 7 wins for the next 3 years.
It's a real fun show when Lamar Jackson comes to the Carolina Panthers.
It's going to be really funny in 5 years when Rex is looking for
that
another
would be
job.
Especially now that Frank Reich's there. There's no way. There's no way.
Why? Why? He can't. He don't want to go learn underneath the actual quarterback. He don't want to learn underneath the coach.
I tell you right now. Those two ain't vibing like that. That's not a match made in heaven.
Like hedge fund money is long money. Like if Lamar really about getting this $230 million guaranteed, and David Tepper
he could get it elsewhere.
And tell me it ain't gonna happen because I'm every day that goes by, I'm starting to think Lamar ain't coming back to Baltimore, buddy.
I don't think he's coming to Carolina.
We're talking about you and your organization and your
initiative.
And now I'm talking about you.
There's no way.
Because your dude is the dude we're gonna target.
Lamar is not coming to Carolina.
This makes it less likely.
Exactly.
This makes it less likely.
I think Lamar is going to Miami. It's just my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. I've been told you that, Des. I told you that when the season started.
Why would he go to a harder division?
Because they got more talent. Y'all don't going to the Panthers is a lateral move, and now that you've got another coach that you got to start from down here and implement his culture, his everything.
They're not scrubbing the roster.
Why would I go to a brand new project? Des, I want to know this. How, when I bring in a new coach and a brand new staff, how is that not a restart?
That's a restart.
How is that not a restart?
They're going to clean the roster out. That's what
they're not talking about the roster, but the staff. Like they're going to have to restart.
If we have a different scheme, if we're running a different offense, if we have different meeting times, if my day is going to be different and look different, how is that not a restart?
You get a new boss, it's different.
but it doesn't mean it's worse. And that's my point.
I didn't say it was worse, but you still have to start below where we were just at.
No. When you say it's going to be like this, that's worse. It's
as in progress, Desmond. Like, let's not act like this. Like, I don't understand.
Progress.
It's a restart.
You've been arguing with me for 30 minutes that the Panthers haven't made progress in 28 years.
Well, they made progress in 12 weeks last week. They made progress in 12 weeks. I just told you that. But the Panthers do the same thing that they always do, which is look and say, okay, well, this isn't going to be good enough. Let's restart and start somewhere else.
It just feels like your whole attitude has changed last week since this hire got announced, Des. Because you was all Mr. Wilkes.
Yeah. It had to.
But
Wilkes
it's
is
like
not the coach.
we don't have
Why
to.
would I stick on Wilkes when he's not the?
We don't have to downplay what he did, though.
I'm not downplaying it. I appreciate what Wilkes did. I love the fact that the man's going to hopefully get an opportunity elsewhere where he'll be able to grow. But the situation he got put into, looking back on it now in hindsight, he was doomed from the start. He was not going to get this job. And it's not because he's black. It's not because of anything other than the fact that interim head coaches typically just don't get the job.
I mean, we've seen interim head coaches get hired, though. Jeff Fisher got hired. Jeff Fisher was another guy that was an interim coach. Like, we've seen it happen before.
7 and 9.
Yeah. And he hasn't had a job since.
I mean, hey, but y'all are asking for examples, and I'm giving it
of successful coaches.
No, you said interim coaches. You said
that were
interim
successful
coaches
as head coaches.
It's always a caveat after.
Exactly.
That's right.
It's always a caveat after.
It's like a hidden tax.
I'm gonna go back.
We're supposed to read between the lines and figure out all these extra adjectives that he's putting in his sentences.
No, you're supposed to let the host finish his sentence so you can hear the whole thing before you make your take. You started talking over what I was saying and didn't hear it. I'm going to clip that out and I'm going to send it to you so you can hear.
Okay, I'll wait for it. I'll wait for a view transfer.
Y'all asked for interim head coaches that became head coaches.
That was your question.
That was it.
And then the thing was, no one said anything because we started to think. And then we went on to a new topic. Then Brandon started coming up with names.
Literally not what happened. Like literally, as I'm saying it, you jumped in and started saying that yes, they do, and y'all started trying to get coaches that had.
Y'all asked for interim head coaches that got named head coaches. That was it.
Name an interim head coach that became a successful head coach. And only you came up with
y'all keep switching it though. You said name me an interim head coach that got the job. That's what you said, and I named you two.
Is it two different ways? Name an interim head coach that's been a successful head coach. Can you give me any recently?
We can't go back though. This ain't Facebook. You can't edit your comment. You said what you said. Come on.
It's all
Bill Belichick was an interim coach.
Not for the Patriots.
It doesn't matter. He was an interim coach,
and he had success.
It does matter. Like,
okay, no, he did say that interim that stayed. That got the job. That was the core. That was the question.
Hold on. I haven't said much in a while.
Go ahead.
Okay, but I want to say this: just because other people weren't successful, doesn't mean another guy isn't going to be successful. If the world was put around not doing things because other people weren't successful, then no one would ever be successful.
This is Larry.
This is a guy that has the makeup. Look, what do you want for a head coach? Listen to me a minute. In a head coach, you look for leadership. Did he prove he has leadership? Yes. You look for communication, commitment, discipline, confidence, enthusiasm. All those boxes are checked off.
And I can't say Frank Reich checks all those boxes.
I mean, we didn't even know he played. I mean, we didn't even talk about his NFL career until this hire.
Wait. No. Go back to Jalen. Go back to Jalen because the players have already come out and said this, and so have personnel.
Okay, so
coaches, all the people.
How many players do you think have really met with? You said the 20, right? They had the 20.
20 out of 60.
He's meeting more this weekend.
Okay. And back to word salad, right?
No.
What are they going to say?
So now it's not word salad. It's only word salad in hindsight. Is that what it is, Desmond?
What is word salad? What are you asking me?
Okay, Des.
No, what are you asking me? You're saying what's word salad? Him talking to the players?
What are they going to say though? We don't support
them coming out. Right. That's what I'm saying.
Like, what are they supposed to say?
If they wanted Steve Wilkes that bad, then why?
They're not going to say, "Hey, we should have got
Wilkes." Because Tepper signs my check. And there's nothing because me coming out and saying, okay, I support Steve Wilkes after Frank Reich's been hired. What is that going to do for me as a player? What do I look like cutting down my new boss and I'm trying to play and get paid, keep feeding my family?
Assuming they want to cut down.
That's remedial. Come on, dog. Don't act like that. You're way smarter than that.
We're not assuming they
You're
don't
way
like
smarter than
him,
that.
but they're not going to speak
Hold on,
freely.
man. Y'all are acting like they don't like Frank Reich.
We're not saying they don't.
I didn't say.
We don't know. We don't.
I just said.
All we said is, listen, no one's against Frank Reich being hired. They're against that Steve Wilkes wasn't hired
for this specific job. For this specific job,
we established that already. We've already established that. It's okay to be both. It's okay to be both, guys. You can be upset Steve Wilkes didn't get hired and be happy that they found the guy in Frank Reich.
But my thing is, we can speak freely about that because the Panthers aren't signing our checks. Players are not going to say, "Hey, we'd rather this guy over this guy," because that's just not the professional thing. You got to pay politics.
They don't have to necessarily go out of their way to go meet him the day after he's hired.
I mean, but it looks good. If I'm looking for a job, I'm going to the work events. I'm going to the social gatherings. I'm going to meet my new boss. That's logic.
Come on, man.
See, you just said 20 minutes ago that these players aren't possibly play hard for him as they did for Steve Wilkes.
They might not. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean they're not going to show up and be like, "Hey, we still want to meet him." Nobody's going to go to bat for Steve Wilkes now that he didn't get hired. It's over.
It's over.
Actually,
it's nothing.
That's
because what is me coming out and saying, "Oh, well, we should have had Steve Wilkes going to do for me besides give me."
What is that going to do for Darius Moore? What is that going to do for him? What is that?
Shot Smith. Shot Smith. What is that going to do?
Where everybody one at a time so we can hear everybody. The players have been coming out on Twitter still giving support to Wilkes. They've been doing it the past.
Yeah, but they're not saying he should be the head coach. They're saying that he's handling it well and they're wishing him success elsewhere. They're not saying, "Hey, he should be our head guy."
Okay, in game here. What is yours, Brandon and Jalen, your point here in regards to Steve Wilkes? Because you're arguing stuff that we've already talked about. Yes, Steve Wilkes did plenty to deserve an opportunity to interview for this job. He didn't get it. What is your end point here? What are you trying to say? That the Panthers messed up and they shouldn't have hired Wilkes?
My only point is we built up so much progression in 12 weeks under Steve Wilkes. Morale, attitude, team chemistry, product on the field. Now you bring in a whole new staff that we are completely unfamiliar with. Now we have to start back at square one where we were at when we first hired Matt Rule.
Right. It's just a setback. That's my thing. It set the team
back to where we started when we first hired Matt Rule. Because there has to be implementation of the whole process, my scheme, my offense, my coaching staff, what our day-to-day is going to look like, how we practice, our culture. Do we hit in practice? Those type of things, you know what I'm saying, that is involved and people have to be learned day to day. That's what I'm saying. And to tear down what was already built up and being built under 12 weeks with Steve Wilkes for a fresh start and a new slate.
Now see what this is. What I want you and Brandon to do is go and subscribe to the Believe in Carolina Panthers podcast because you're missing facts. You're missing out elements.
What's missing from that?
Let me tell you. For starters, he's not cleaning the whole staff out. Some of these people are staying, like the offensive line coach, James Campion, that turned the offensive line around. He mentioned there's a 5-minute video Kristen Balboni from the Panthers did with Frank Reich last night from his home in Charlotte, where he got a chance to talk about his plans, what he's going to do, what's next, what they want to do. And no one here has watched it. I can tell from the tone of y'all voice.
My thing is, though,
y'all going there like he's going to rip it all to shreds.
No, we're not saying he's going to rip it all to shreds.
We're just saying you're going to clean it out and bring in your own staff, Brandon.
I never said that. I said that what we're hitting on, though, is stuff is going to be run differently. You're having a new boss.
They want it run differently. That's why they hired him. That's why they bringing him in. They want it run differently.
But we spent all this talk about establishing an identity, and Wilkes understands what
that's all you talked about the whole season.
This and this and this and this.
That's all you talked about the whole season.
You're assuming Frank Reich doesn't know Carolina Panther identity. That's literally what this comes to. Y'all are assuming
he hasn't coached it. No, but
they haven't even had an OTA yet. Like, what are we talking about?
This is an argument in circles because both sides are honestly right in what they're talking about. Jalen and Brandon are right in that. Yes, there is going to be some remedial of having to come back down and learn a new system and all that being implemented. Yeah. But Des is also right in the sense that they want that. So
they want to flip that out.
That's the organization's choice.
My only thing that I get that
just spin their wheels for 5 years. It's like y'all think a billionaire is just going to.
You don't think he has the biggest part? He plays the biggest part in that. You don't think that?
I'm just going off of what you've been saying for weeks and weeks and
that
weeks about this. About how Wilkes has the identity. He understands Panthers football.
He ain't the only one. He's not the only one. He's not.
But he's coached games. He's already coached games.
He's not the only one
results.
To do that.
Why are we're going off of what if?
We're not going off of what if.
Because we're talking about what if.
This is the closest they could have gotten to almost nailing this. Like,
and the closest, and they could have nailed it.
Panther is.
They could have nailed it with Steve Wilks. They could have nailed it with Steve Wilks.
See, that's an if. They didn't. That's
but
my
we
whole
saw
point.
what he could do.
I'm not going to sit and stew in the fact they didn't hire Steve Wilks. That's my point.
And the thing is, and because Frank Reich was
and sulk about it for 4 weeks, I'm not going to do it. It's over. They hired someone else. At least they hired somebody that has a sense of what it means to be a Carolina
because
Panther.
he was a backup quarterback for 1 season.
And lived here for 20 years, Jalen. He's lived here for 20 plus years.
I mean, I know people that live in Charlotte.
That's what I'm saying. Don't even like the Panthers. They Steelers fans. What are you talking about? Like, you can live in Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about? Charlotte probably got more Steelers fans than Panthers fans.
They literally have a Browns bar, a Cleveland Browns bar.
They got a Patriots bar too.
What are we talking about, bro?
They got a Patriots bar too.
He lives in Charlotte. He's all about the culture.
It don't matter that he played for the Panthers. It don't matter
for 1 season.
Teams. It don't
That's
matter.
before the culture was even established.
It don't matter
the
that
Panthers
he
had
lives
no
here.
culture.
I got it, y'all. I got it. Dez is excited because Frank Reich threw the first ever touchdown in Panthers history. And he takes him back to high school. And he was like, yeah, we finally got a football team.
Close to a whole hour with no commercial breaks.
Hey, I was just thinking that. I was like, we ain't took a commercial break yet.
I was thinking
somebody's going to be mad.
10 minutes now.
Somebody's going to be mad.
I'm not
roll the break, Des.
No, we're gonna stay right here. I want to hear your conference.
I mean, we're talking about a guy that lives in Carolina, so he knows the culture. He was there for a season before they even had a coach.
It's not hard to understand, guys. The same reason why I wanted Steve Wilks. It's the same reason why I'm cool with Frank Reich. Frank Reich.
I don't think those are the same. Frank Reich ain't go to West Charlotte.
Steve Wilks was only here a couple years himself.
He went to. He's born and raised.
Frank Reich ain't go to West Charlotte High School.
Same thing, Brandon.
He didn't go to West Charlotte.
Oh, you go say, oh, Steve Wilks went to West Charlotte. Steve Wilks went.
But if your argument, but if that's your argument though, Des, Steve Wilks' argument is stronger because he was born and raised in the city.
Randy Moss's son went to Carolina. Like his son was in North Carolina. Randy Moss lived there for a while. Randy Moss know the Panthers culture too.
He didn't play for the Panthers. He went in the building.
That's for 1 year, bro. He was there the backup for 1 season.
Frank Reich lived here. Frank Reich was on the team for 3 years. So see, you're saying stuff and don't know the facts, Jay.
He was on the team for 1 year, bro.
You're painting a narrative that's not
bro,
true.
Frank Reich was on the team for 1995.
He didn't serve as a consultant or anything along those lines.
Bro, he was. Bro, you said I said on the team. I ain't talking about on the staff. He was on the team for 1 year.
Man is lived here for 20.
It could be anything.
Man is lived here.
Come on, dog. This man talking about a consultant. You know about a consultant?
The man's lived here for 20. The man's lived here for 20 plus.
Steve Wilks is 65 years old and lived in Charlotte his whole life. What are you talking about?
Don't argue one side of it, then use it for your other side. Don't say
no. I just used your argument and applied it to my side. That's all I did. I didn't use it for your side. I said he applied it to my side.
West Charlotte, Knapp State. That's the same thing as saying that Frank Reich's lived here for 20 years.
No, I just no.
Hey guys,
I said all I said, Des, was if you're gonna use that argument, then Steve Wilks' argument is stronger. That's all I said.
Yeah,
talking about Burrow and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, we're just gonna move on because this ain't gonna go nowhere. Because
ignore the Panthers, so it's okay.
The Panthers go Panther at the end of the day.
It's gonna be a fun day on the rundown when Lamar Jackson signs for $270 million or whatever.
In Miami.
Here you go with these ifs again. If you living in a world of ifs, but you said this, don't bring it up.
Is he from Charlotte?
He's not. That man ain't coming to play for no Frank.
Great aunt lives in Charlotte.
Ryan, NFC Championship game preview. Eagles 49ers. Real quick. We got about 15 minutes before I got to flip it over to the high school football panel. Eagles 49ers, the number 1 ranked defense versus the number 2 ranked defense in all the land. Jalen Hurts would have probably won MVP if he hadn't got hurt the last month of the season. Thoughts on this?
I think it's a really interesting conversation around this game because everybody keeps talking about how this is the game that Brock Purdy is going to mess up in, but we're assuming we're saying that Jalen Hurts isn't playing his first NFC Championship game too, so that's why I just find that to be an interesting discussion, because this is Jalen Hurts' first. But don't get me wrong, I trust Jalen Hurts more. I think ultimately it's going to be kind of a low-scoring game because, like you said, the top 2 defenses in the league going at it. Ultimately, I think Jalen Hurts' legs. I think he'll make a play late with his legs. I think A.J. Brown will make some big plays in this game as well. And I think the Eagles win by a field goal.
You picked the Eagles by a field goal?
By a field goal, I think, yeah.
I'm with you, man. I love Brock Purdy and everything he's done. It just keeps it's something in my spirit keeps screaming Tom Brady. I don't know why. I know that's huge shoes to fill, right?
I keep saying that, though,
but it just keeps screaming in my spirit. And I don't think he's going to have that much success, of course, but I think he will be a very successful quarterback and could possibly win a couple championships if he stays in San Francisco. But I just think that the talent that Jalen Hurts possesses is a little bit greater than what Brock Purdy has right now. I also think that Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are better on the outside than what San Francisco has. And I do believe pretty much everywhere else these two teams are equal. But I think those are the two areas that the Eagles are better. So I think they'll end up winning. I think it'll be a one-score game.
Larry?
I think Jalen's forgetting that the 49ers have a guy named Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle for a minute.
Now, I'll tell you this. Kittle and Goddard, that is not as far of a deficit as you would think.
Goddard's pretty good. Too. Brandon Ayuk was 1,000-yard receiver this year. Just saying.
I like Ayuk, but he ain't Devontae Smith.
Anyway, since we don't get into another 45-minute debate on the Panthers,
please save me, Larry. Please save me.
Yeah, thank you. I look at this game, and I think the matchup that everybody's forgetting to watch, because we're talking about Purdy, who I agree with Jalen. He is tremendous. Just a tremendous talent. We know Hurts is a tremendous talent, but this game could come down to the matchup between Hassan Reddick and Trent Williams, because Reddick been a beast, former Carolina Panther, not from Charlotte, by the way. And, he's been playing really, really well. I mean, look at the year he's having there. Hey,
Larry, man, you're funny.
But, look at the year he's having in Philadelphia. But you know what? For some reason, I've said it all year. There's something about the Eagles that just doesn't click with me. They feel like they're beatable, even though they keep winning. They still have that. I don't know what it is, but I'm taking the 49ers in this game. I think Hurts has a terrible game.
Brandon?
I'm taking the Eagles. I think last week we saw Purdy play a defense of the Cowboys.
You can disagree with Jalen.
That was just they're athletic. I know. This is honestly with you, Larry. You ain't been in a couple weeks. This is the first time me and Jalen ever done been on the same page. This was it's kind of crazy.
It really is.
It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy.
It's black stuff.
This ain't never happened. This is monumental.
It's usually me and you, Larry.
Yeah, it's usually y'all two, Larry. It's usually y'all two. But no, I think we saw Purdy struggle for the first time last week. And if Dak doesn't throw all them interceptions, the 49ers aren't even playing in this game.
But
I don't think Jalen Hurts makes those.
Does he? Purdy
doesn't
turn the ball over.
7 interceptions. That's it.
I don't think
8 games.
I don't think Jalen Hurts makes those mistakes.
That's a very popular bet, by the way. Brock Purdy under a half interception.
Yeah, I mean Purdy looked a little shaken up last week. Like it wasn't easy peasy like it's been. And the more film that gets out on this kid, the more defensive coordinators are getting to study. They're getting to see him. I think it'll be a really close game. Two great defenses. This will be the best defense that he's faced, though. I think the Eagles will be able to get pressure on him.
And that pass rush.
You know what I'm saying? I think they'll put pressure on him. I think they'll make things muddy out there for him. But shout out to Purdy because he can move in that pocket a little bit. And I didn't know that he had them feet. He can move.
I think Brock Purdy was severely underdrafted, if we're being honest. Like, it's a nice story, like that he was the last pick. But if you watched him at Iowa State, like this is not that huge.
They put up big numbers.
Like he was a really good quarterback in college. He's just not 6'4". He's just not
right. No, I mean he's looked great in that system. I still think Trey Lance is their guy. Might be my North Dakota State bias. I don't know.
Hey, that's who might be the Panthers quarterback.
Maybe. Bring him to Charlotte.
He's moving to Charlotte.
He ain't going down that road today.
He's not from Charlotte though.
Look, okay, so
what do you say his mom is though?
I'm not going to give a pick because clearly with this episode, my opinion does not matter. Whatever I say,
which means
count anyway. So I'm not
going to
really
the 49ers. I know that.
my name's on the marquee. It don't really matter. Whatever I said be wrong. So
That's because he was 0-4.
You ain't even running your sponsors.
I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna pick the 49ers because the one thing that nobody mentioned here in January in the NFL, you go with the hot team. All that other stuff is irrelevant.
11 in a row.
The
right?
49ers are the hottest team in the NFL, and they're going to make it to the Super Bowl.
I agree.
My analysis.
I agree with
they're
that.
playing better than anybody in the league right now, except for maybe the Bengals.
I would say the Bengals.
That right now.
My future bet on the 49ers would love that.
I will say, man, the Niners have looked great. They really have.
The 49ers are the proof that you don't need an elite quarterback to actually be an elite team because they've ran through 3 quarterbacks this year, and every other asset of their team has been spot on. And look at them. Like, how do you beat them? Like,
I mean, Purdy's been looking kind of.
If you even rattle Purdy, you can still, as long as he gets the ball in his playmaker's hands, it don't really matter.
I like Purdy, man. He's such a
I just
he got
think Brock Purdy
got that in his chest, man.
I know he's really good, man. I think that they could switch him out for a first round pick on draft day.
It also shows the value of having an offensive mind
from Carolina.
It also shows the value of having an offensive mind at head coach in Kyle Shanahan in this day and age.
Well, you got the best defense in the league. You got the best defense in the league.
Okay, you gonna
They have the best defense in the league.
Let's not get back into this.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm talking.
I really want to talk about that.
It's hard to lose games when people can't score.
And you're telling me the defensive coordinator has nothing to do with it. The offensive coordinator, it's all the head coach. Their
defensive coordinator is literally about to get a head coaching job.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
because they got the number 1 defense in the league. Mind you, that would be the second defensive coordinator he's lost because they had the number 1 defense, and now they go get a head coaching job.
A lot of talent on the 49ers.
And they keep getting to the Super Bowl because they got great defensive players and great defensive coaches and a great offensive scheme. You got to have all of them.
It's tough to lose when you can't score. When somebody can't score on you, it's tough.
Who made that scheme? Just real quick. Who made that offensive scheme?
Not Frank Reich. I'll tell you that. He ain't draw it up.
But who did? Who made it? Who was it? You said who made the offensive scheme?
Old man Shanahan.
Old man Shanahan.
Bengals
Chiefs, 6:30 p.m. on CBS, the AFC Championship.
I ain't think Frank Reich fell out that tree.
I don't even know how. the NFL keeps getting this right, where they put the marquee game on before the matchups are even set. They end up with the marquee game in that primetime slot. Ryan, Bengals Chiefs. Yeah. What you got?
First of all, I love both these quarterbacks. Like they are my 2 favorite players to watch in the NFL, like by a pretty wide margin. But right now, I honestly just think the Bengals have the better team right now. I think they're the hotter team. Burrow, for whatever reason, and Arrowhead just does not rattle Joe Burrow. Like, it rattles everybody, but Joe Burrow, it doesn't matter. He's just that guy. And I think
I've ever seen him rattled. Has he ever been rattled?
It's he coming to the bank. He don't know how to act. I tell you that.
It is very hard. Yeah. He does struggle with the Ravens for whatever reason. That's true. But I think that's.
You see how he tried to poo-poo me? He tried to poo-poo me. Okay, they didn't play the Chiefs 3 times in this year. We don't play them twice. What you talking about? I'm just saying.
Anyway, I'm going with the Bengals. Staying with the hot team. I just think they're the better team right now.
Jalen, Bengals, Chiefs, real quick.
Honestly, I got the Chiefs just because I don't think there's any way in the world they're going to beat a team 4 times in a row that is as talented as the Chiefs. I think that's really all it comes down to. I do believe the Bengals have a better team, but I think the Chiefs have a better coach, and I think they have a little bit better quarterback. Just a little bit. I think that's all it's going to come down to.
I honestly feel like that's up for debate now between Burrow and Mahomes. I really
your boy, come on, Des. You can't. Come on, Des. You can't do that.
Why? Why the hell can't you?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Larry. Go ahead, Larry.
Joe Burrow hasn't ascended to this point. He's beat him the past 3 times.
They're right.
Like they're
1A1B to me. Like, I go back and forth.
Thank you.
I'm with you.
But argue every single thing I say, Jalen. Like, you can agree with me sometimes. Like, it's okay. You can agree.
Not when you keep saying these type of things.
The Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes.
No, I said they're close. I said it's close. I said Patrick Mahomes is slightly better.
That's what I'm saying. And you said that's all I said. It's a debate now. You can debate that. The Joe Burrow's in that world with Pat Mahomes.
I don't know if it's a debate. I think it's close. I don't know if it's a debate.
It's not a crazy debate to have. Brandon,
if Burrow wins this weekend, it's a pretty.
I mean, Burrow got to get a Super Bowl. He got to get an MVP. We got to, But anyways,
It's been 5 straight AFC Championship games. Like it's a lot to go with that.
You know, I'm still not ready to put him above Mahomes. Are they in the same tier? Possibly, yeah. But regardless of the fact, I'm going Bengals. I think Mahomes. We don't know how banged up he is. That ankle's still nagging him. The Bengals defense is tough, man. That defensive line, they're physical. Jamar Chase is that guy. T. Higgins is that guy. Joe Burrow, they're calling it Burrowhead up in there. Like, I don't know, man. I think I got to go Bengals.
That's so disrespectful, too.
I just really think, man, it's how you going to be the team 4 times
tough,
in a row?
Though. That's tough,
crazy. In one year, that's insane.
Is it my
I
turn
agree.
yet?
I agree with that.
No, Larry, you have to wait again.
I got to wait again on that.
Go, Larry. Come on, to me.
All right, we're coming down to it. So, at the end of the day, I think, you got to remember Cincinnati is without 3 of its starting offensive linemen. Alex Kappa, including one of them, is going to be out for this game. But at the end of the day, we've said this on this show many times. Defense wins championships. Even though it may not win head coaches, it does win defenses, okay? KC has given up 55 sacks this year. They have twice as many fumbles as the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Larry, bro, I love you, dog. I'm not going to lie.
Larry to go, bro.
At the end of the day, guys, I'm picking, and you know who to watch out for in this game? Jalen has a big game in the playoffs. The guy Boyd for Cincinnati.
Tyler Boyd,
Boyd seems to show up during the big games. I don't know what it is. Not during the year, but everyone goes Jamar Chase. Well, watch out for Boyd in this game. I'm taking the Bengals over the Chiefs as well.
Since y'all know all the stuff that I say on the show all the time, one of the things I do say on the show all the time is that NFL teams have a 4-year championship window. I've said it a lot.
You say that a lot.
And the Kansas City Chiefs are at the end of that window. The window started when they lost to the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game in 2018. This is 2023. All teams, I don't care who they are, in the NFL eventually fall out that window. Even Tom Brady and the Patriots had a 4-year window at the beginning, won 3 Super Bowls, went like 8 years or whatever without sniffing one.
So who you taking?
Went to 3 or 4 more in a 4-year window.
He taking the Bengals, man.
I'm taking the Bengals.
He can't stand Patrick Mahomes. He's the biggest hater in the world.
No, I don't got a problem with Pat Mahomes. It goes what I just said. It's just basic logic.
That's good logic.
Take the hot team in the NFL in January. The hot team will never do you wrong more often than not.
I like the better coach, man. I like the better coach.
Bengals got something going on, man. Bengals got something going on. I don't know what it is. Another thing I've said on the show a bunch, don't trust the Bengals 2 years in a row. I've had to back off of that because Joe Burrow is just
now we're cross-referencing sayings.
Joe Burrow's that dude, man. Like, I would take Joe Burrow right now over any quarterback in the NFL.
So when we take 2 Desmond sayings, how do we do the math on that? We got the 4-year window versus the can't trust the Bengals 2 years in a row.
No, I had to go off that.
So now,
in my lifetime, you never trust the Bengals 2 years in a row.
That's what I'm saying. Do you carry the one on that, or how does the math work out? Figuring out who we take on the
Hold on a minute. I got you.
I didn't do it with math.
Not at all.
Is there another quarterback? Take it with Mahomes with a busted ankle. Is there another quarterback that you would take other than Joe Burrow right now?
See, now you're going to use that as an excuse. The whole
it's what he's got. He's got a hurt high ankle sprain. Actually, Ash Johnson.
I'm gonna be honest. I got a guy
a long time to come back from a high ankle sprain.
I got a guy in KC. I got a guy who works out in KC, and he's at the beat every day. Every video he's posted, Patrick Mahomes, he looks pretty decent.
I know.
He looks pretty good.
He looks pretty good. And I said, he's at practice every day. He doing post practice interviews. Every video they post, there's no limp, and that's full of video.
Let it get touched one good time. Let it get.
I feel you. I know.
Like, it's different than just doing the walkthrough with your buddies, like up and down.
But walkthrough,
running from somebody for dear life.
But walkthrough is the only indicator as to how we really gonna be able to get down. You know,
we haven't seen him go vertically. We haven't seen him. Pat Mahomes' whole game is being mobile, throwing those crazy backyard passes on.
Is he really much more mobile than Joe Burrow?
Not really. Honestly, not really.
I think he's slightly
they
more athletic.
They both maneuver in the pocket really well.
It's the same.
But, I mean,
we talk about Mahomes doing something we ain't seen before is because he's probably on the move. The little underhanded throws, the behind the back nonsense, the across the field passes that you're not supposed to make that they teach you in Pop Warner that he does and makes look easy. Like I said last week, he's the Steph Curry of the NFL. He does stuff that you're not supposed to do on the field. He makes it look easy.
I
He
haven't
makes it
seen
look
him
like
throw
everybody
his
can do it,
mouthpiece
and
down.
nobody can. Nobody can do what Mahomes does.
He's another reason why we should question these NFL scouts, because like he was like this at Texas Tech. I was literally on the field. I was literally on the field at Oklahoma State one time and watched him throw it end to end. Like his arm has been there. Like it's another reason why we should question
new
NFL.
stuff. People are scared of new stuff that changes the game. Like
Well, Desmond got Trubisky was the answer. So
no, I did not. Don't put that hex on me.
That's your guy. That's your Carolina guy.
Me and Rod.
Hey, nobody asked him. Mitch didn't ask them to pick him at number 2, though.
That's true.
You ain't gonna put that hex on me because me and Rod Funderburg, we were clowning that from day one.
You put it on
We were
yourself.
Like, God, in the world did they trade up to number 2 for Mitch Trubisky?
Hey,
Started
it wasn't
11
Mitch's
starts,
fault.
and we didn't even like him at Carolina.
No,
And
he
got
wasn't.
all the way up
He
there.
he wasn't that great. He wasn't no Marquise
wasn't.
Williams. I'll tell you
No,
that.
exactly.
We like Marquise Williams. But we were not Mitch Trubisky fans.
Not just Trubisky, by the way. Deshaun Watson went ahead of him too.
I mean, it wasn't Mitch's fault though. He didn't tell him.
Coming out of college though, Deshaun Watson was the guy.
Yeah.
He was the guy.
A couple years ago, he was a top 5 quarterback.
It was like until 2 years ago, he was still the guy.
He was a top 5 dude. Now I don't know
he
if he'll
might
ever
be
get back there
next year.
again.
We'll see. I think he's got another run in him. To be
Man,
honest.
bro, he in Cleveland. Like that's
okay.
It ain't gonna happen. It's Cleveland, man. It's you talk about identity.
All right, so wait, we got another dead saying.
Browns, no.
The Browns compared to
been
the
to Cleveland
Panthers, it
before?
ain't that far off.
Yeah,
Have you ever been to Cleveland?
Actually.
Does it
Nobody
ever
has a reason
inspire
to
you
go
to
to
be the
Cleveland.
best you when you're in Cleveland? Does it inspire Ryan to be the best Ryan he can be, or does it want you? Do you want to get out every time you go to Cleveland?
Oh, I've never been to Cleveland, so I can't really speak about it. I've never been to Cleveland.
Don't go. You ain't got to go.
I've been to Cleveland. The stadium's right next to the Rock
It
and
is.
Roll Hall of Fame.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful
Yeah.
right there. And
See?
then you
It's
drive
easy to
about
go,
half
you
a
know?
mile, and it looks like you have not been
Near
near
really
that area is. So in the end, I think most of everybody picked. Well, who everybody picked Eagles?
I picked the Chiefs. Yeah,
I picked the
three
Bengals.
of 5 Eagles and 4 of 5 Bengals, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I got Bengals 49ers Super Bowl. I think that's the sexiest pick. The storylines write themselves. I haven't trusted the Eagles all year. I've been waiting on them to just slip up finally, and I think this is going to be the week they do it against a team that's built
I agree with him on
better
that
than
one.
them.
I do agree with him on that one.
Like it just doesn't. It's something about these Eagles. I'm just like until they actually do it. I'm not going to sit here and pick them because I don't.
That's cool, bro. Jalen Hurts is he's more than accustomed to having his back on the wall.
You talk about a guy that don't never look rattled, bro.
The ultimate
Jalen
leader.
Hurts.
I like
The ultimate
I
leader.
love Jalen Hurts. Actually, I wish Carolina drafted him the year he was out, but no.
Then we would have be in a better situation.
NFL they don't do stuff like that.
NFL scouts.
You know,
I'm gonna just go to break. I'm
NFL
gonna go to
draft
break.
scouts.
Appreciate everybody being on.
You sure you don't want me to stick around for the second hour?
Nah, you good.
You really appreciate everybody being on today.
Go on, handle your Saturday. Coming up in a minute, we got East Forsyth head coach Todd Willert and former West Forsyth head coach Adrian Snow. I got a chance to sit down with both of them. We talked about everything from how it's nuts. North Carolina only has 4 classifications in high school sports, where South Carolina has like 5 or 6. Florida has 8. And I went to go look, and like in Class 8 in Florida, you have to have like at least 2,300 students. We got that right now in 4A. You got teams in 4A with like 4,000 kids playing against a team like Glenn with 1,400 students. Like that's not right. So we talked about what needs to be done with that. We talked about the recent retirement of Reidsville head coach Jimmy Teague, which was announced earlier this week. Both of them
That was crazy.
had some great stories regarding Jimmy Teague with that. So we talked about that. We get their picks from the NFL stuff. They got the chance to make fun of JP Monday a couple times during the hour as well. So
it's always good.
Yeah, always fun.
That's an
always
easy thing to do. Easy thing to do, man.
You don't even know right now. Like if he starts watching, he's gonna be, oh man, I didn't realize they were going to joke on me like the whole hour. But yeah, definitely stick around for that. Todd Willard, Adrian Snow, coming up next. You just got treated to a commercial-free hour of the rundown. We'll be back in just a bit.
Hour and 7 minutes.
Them folks are gonna be mad at you, Des.
Ryan Stone, Jalen Gilkey, Brandon Blake.
It's refund season.
They're all over the place. Definitely catch them. We'll be back in just a bit.
All right, y'all.
All right, guys.
Back to the Rundown with Desmond Johnson. You're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson.
Pardon me, B-Dot here, and as the voice of the Greensboro Swarm, PA for the Hornets, and the 6th man of Carolina basketball, I do it all. Just like Beamer Tire and Auto. Alignments, new tires, NC State inspections, oil changes, they do it all. And with 3 locations in High Point, Greensboro, and Kernersville, B-Dot and B-Tar, yes, we do it all. If you need details, visit beamertire.com.
To everyone who appreciates a little Midwest nice, let our team member Jacob share how he brightens your day at Culver's.
Going the extra mile to put a smile on your face? It's what we love to do. So when I serve you a chicken sandwich made with the juiciest whole white meat chicken, I know it'll light up your day. Our spicy crispy chicken sandwich, it's seasoned to bring just the right amount of heat to every bite.
Let us make you a meal that makes your day. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
Visit Culver's of Kernersville at 1780 Pecan Lane in Kernersville. Walkertown Auto Sales. Look no further when shopping for your next vehicle. Located in the heart of the Triad at 3076 Walkertown View Drive in Walkertown, Walkertown Auto Sales specializes in affordable and reliable used cars, trucks, and SUVs. They offer financing with good credit, bad credit, or no credit, with interest rates as low as 3.9%. With knowledgeable employees that are always willing to go the extra mile, you'll drive away with the car of your dreams at Walkertown Auto Sales. Check out the entire online inventory now at walkertownautosales.com.
Hey, Pops, where you want to go eat tonight? I'm going to go get me some good Southern cooking at Ball Brothers down by the airport in Winston.
No, Pops, it's Bell Brothers, and they closed years ago. It's Taste of the Triad now.
Taste of the Triad? Is it in the old Ball Brothers building?
Yup.
Can I still get baked chicken and collard greens?
Sure can.
How about neck bones, meatloaf, and pork chops?
Taste of the Triad has all that.
So they ain't got pinto beans, tater salad, mac and cheese, or fried okra?
Pops, they have all that, plus homemade cakes and cobblers and sweet potato pie.
Well, then I don't care what they call it. Let's go eat.
Taste of the Triad. Open daily for lunch with $5.99 specials from 11 to 2 and chef specials daily. Don't miss the Saturday brunch from 9 to 1 and the soulful Sunday dinner when you come out of church full of the word, but hungry for Southern comfort food. Taste of the Triad in the old Bell Brothers building at Old Walkertown Road and North Liberty in Winston-Salem.
That's good Southern cooking.
This is LaMelo Ball, and you're listening to Tobacco Road Sports Radio on WWBG 1470 AM, your home for Hornets basketball in the Triad.
Welcome into hour number 2 of the Rundown. Desmond Johnson here with you, WWBG 1470 AM here in the Triad. Of course, you can always hear us on tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. If you want to chime in on any of the topics or things we're talking about every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, you can do so at youtube.com/at Tobacco Road Sports Radio. You can comment underneath the video, or you can find us on Facebook Watch. Do the same thing there, and we will respond to it live on air. Got a couple heavy hitters in for the second hour here. Y'all probably know him very well. It's East Forsyth football head coach Todd Willert and former head coach at West Forsyth, now in semi-retirement, Adrian Snow. What's the deal? What's going on, gentlemen?
Oh, living a dream. How about you?
Man, the Carolina Panthers have made my life miserable today by making me run all over the place, but we'll get into all that in a little bit. I wanted to get both of you guys on, and this is going to be kind of a series we do. I think I might get head coach Daryl Brown from Grimsley and Eric Westberg from Northern Guilford next week and kind of get their opinions on this as well. I was talking to JP. I know Coach Willert was on Franchise Players last week with him, and they had started talking a little bit about some of this stuff, but I'm very interested in this whole reclassification conversation in high school sports here in North Carolina. And I didn't realize we need to reclassify because I was looking through some of the other states and like where the levels are. So like in Florida has I think seven classes or 8. I think they have 8 classes. Florida 8A is any school with more than 2,356 kids. That's like our 4A right now, and for like half of it, isn't it? It feels like we've squashed 8 categories into 4 when they kind of got it right before for like 15 years when they separated out into subdivisions. I want to get your thoughts on this because both of you guys pretty much coached during the period of time where it was broken out into A and AA. So we kind of had 8 divisions for football. What needs to happen for this to go down? Do you think it'll happen? And why is North Carolina like this? Like South Carolina has more classifications than we do. I didn't know. I thought it meant like 6A, 7A is going to be like 4,000 kids or something in a school. And then when I started really looking at it, I'm like, hold up, what? Like East should be like a 5A, 6A. West should be like a 6A, 7A based on school pop. So look, give me your thoughts on this, guys.
Ultimately, I'll start off because I know when Todd gets going, it's going to take a while. So here's the deal. I will say this. Yes, there needs to be more classifications. I think the biggest thing is trying to figure out the exact way to do it and do it the best way. One that you don't water stuff down. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest key is in this whole thing is the reason we went back is because of a vote. The issue is you getting 75% of people anywhere to agree, it's not going to work. You just can't. It's not going to work. And then if you don't vote, it's a no vote. So there's there's principals got 7,000 things going on. And, oh, yeah, by the way, they got to stop and they got to vote on something that's going to happen 2 years down the road. So some of them, we'll get to it and then they don't get to it. So that's a no vote if they don't vote. So that's a big key. So I think getting them to decide how to do it is probably more of the problem than people saying we need to do it. Because I think everybody says we need to do it. And it's just, one, how to get it done, and one, to get it done. The how of what's going to happen. All right, it's going to be this classification, la, 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 la. And then it's going to be, oh, yeah, by the way, we've got to get everybody on board to say yes. And that's the kicker.
See, I thought Coach Snow might be a little bit looser because he wasn't going to have to hear anything about this in the fall when he came back to the school. So he's going to be able to speak.
Hey, he's being nice because, I was waiting for Snow because you guys know I'll blow it out, man. I'm going to tell you the reason it didn't happen is because down there in Chapel Hill, they didn't get their way on a vote, and that's why we're where we're at. And if you look across the nation, I've done all the research. It is shameful what our state has done. They've robbed kids of the last 3-4 years when they went back to this.
Yeah.
I still have not been answered the question because they said, well, the bylaws told us that we got to be 4A. I want to know who got in trouble for the past 17 years for breaking the bylaws. Nobody has answered that question for me yet. And I'm sure Chapel Hill won't answer my phone call, but no doubt it's shameful what they did the last few years. It robbed kids. And Desmond, I'm going to be honest, and you experienced it with me. It means a lot to our city what happened in 18 and 19. And I didn't know how important and how great it was to win a state title until we did it. And for the state to do what they did because of disagreements between grown folk and how they robbed kids, and I ain't saying East Forsyth, but everybody by going to 4 classifications.
Yeah.
It is sad. But on one other note, before I get off my high horse here, I do believe they should have been doing it in basketball and all the other sports. And they didn't. And then Chapel Hill tries to pin other sports again. And Coach Snow, Big Daddy Snow might not admit this, but they try to pin us against each other. And that was kind of some of the blowback as well. Why is football getting 8 divisions and nobody else? Well, I thought everybody else should have been getting 8 divisions.
I was going to ask that because I didn't realize that. Well, I guess I kind of knew that football was the only one that really got divided out. I don't understand why they chose football only and not basketball or baseball or softball or some of these others that have a lot of schools playing those too. And I know some of the schools don't play all the sports or whatnot. So even if they do go to 7 or 8 classifications, not every school would have every, sport involved in all that, which is fine. That's the way it is now. I mean, if you're not playing something and you're in 1A, then you just don't play it. So I never understood the whole logic with that. It started for 2 classifications because of the disparity between 1As and 4As.
Yep.
Because there was major, like you had some schools with like 200 kids, and then some schools with like 600 kids, and they were in the 1A or something to the effect. The numbers are whatever.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you had the big disparity between those two. And then that's how it kind of got started. And then once that started, then it's like, hey, we're going to do it for everybody. We did it. Because ultimately, we call it what you want to. Football is a numbers game.
Yeah.
I mean, you can ultimately in basketball, they're going to have 12 dudes. You're going to have 12 dudes or whatever, 15. Most people have 15 to 12. Okay, that's fine. But in football, if you roll out there and you got 22 cats and we got 75 cats, that's a problem. It's just the way it is. It's just
we've seen that in the conference that in the CPC. There, I mean, I'm not going to put schools on blast, but there's schools that have full blown rosters, and then you go to some other schools and they're trotting 30 kids out there, and you're like, how is this even fair?
Well, at the end of the day,
like,
that's a big deal. I mean,
yeah.
Because ultimately, they said football is a numbers game. I mean, you call it what you want, but it's a numbers game.
What was it, a couple years ago? Two postseasons ago when Glenn played Myers Park, and Myers Park had to come up here, and Glenn's like the smallest 4A school in the state, and Myers Park is one of the largest in the state. Now, granted, Glenn won the football game, but it was because Myers Park gave it to him more than anything else, and Glenn fought for it. But just thinking that a school with what Glenn had 1,300, 1,400 kids probably. Myers Park is like close to
double the enrollment.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would anybody look at that and go, that's fair? And then people tell me all the time, well, you just got to roll the ball out and play. If you've got a pool of 3,000 kids to build your football team from, that's different than having a pool of 1,400. Like, it's just numbers. Like you said, you just got to have more guys.
There was an issue one year when we were at West, we played South Meck, and South Meck had almost, they had like almost 1,000, between 800 to 1,000 kids more than we did. Now, we were the biggest in our area, but it was 800 to 1,000. And everybody kept saying, well, I mean, you got a bunch okay, well, we'll take it would be close. It's almost like, all right, we'll take Glenn and put them with us. Do you really think we could put together a pretty good group?
Yeah, I think that's probably possible.
Got a whole lot more to choose from.
Well, put it this way: if we were in Kernersville, and we had a Kernersville high school.
Correct.
We're at 1,600. Glenn's at like 14. So now we're at 3,000 kids. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I hope Antoine don't, and Glen Nation and East Forsyth don't kill me. But if you put our two schools together, I'm telling you what, we're going to go whip some tail in the state of North Carolina because Glenn's got great football players. We have, I mean, come on, like really, Adrian, that would be true if we had just Kernersville High School.
Correct.
And Glenn and East were together, especially last few years because Glenn had some great players. I mean, these Charlotte teams who are double our enrollment wouldn't even come close. Understand when Myers Park played Glenn, I can't believe I got to defend Glenn here, but understand they had more males in Myers Park than Glenn had people in their high school.
Wow.
So how you can say that's fair and equal, it's shameful to me.
And then the Charlotte schools beat their chest about it all the time. And I'm like, well, you've got more people. Like you've got like 1.5 million people living in your metro area.
Yeah, I always said the population is more dense there than it is here. I mean,
and I know they keep adding high schools. I think, was it Palisades or whatever is going to open down there? And Mallard Creek's relative, I mean, like a decade, 15 years old. Huff is fairly, well, they're not new. And Chambers isn't new either. They were Vance before that. So, but they keep adding these schools around the suburb, like Matthews and all those areas out there. And it's still these large, huge schools. But hopefully they'll realize that they need to do that. And not just for football, but for all sports too.
For all sports. That's the key. For all sports. Thank you.
And girls. So we'll see. We'll see. It's the it's the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. Got Todd Willert from East Forsyth, Adrian Snow from West Forsyth on with us here on the rundown.
Or Rydell.
Rydell. How do you want to be referred to, Coach?
Yeah, Coach Snow. How do we refer to you now?
I've been referred to as a lot of things. Take your pick.
Let me ask you this then, because I noticed this, especially carrying East Forsyth football, being around the Glen kids. Being around West Forsyth football the past couple of years, the transfer portal, it feels like it's affecting recruiting in a way that we haven't seen ever. In terms of, I'm seeing kids that are having fantastic junior and senior years that normally would have all kinds of schools calling them, And it's like it's almost slowed down where like it's like stages. Like the coaches go through the transfer portal first, and then they kind of figure out who they're keeping. And then eventually they get around to kind of recruiting these, I don't want to say fringe guys, but guys are kind of getting left in the shadows, so to speak. Trying to think, Coach, like I said, I'm not going to put names out there, but if you follow the program, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. You had a kid that's a senior this year. There's a defensive end that was basically averaging 20 sacks a year. And I didn't really see a whole lot of offers until recently starting to come in for him. And I had to think the transfer portal had something to do with that. Coach, you had a guy that just signed with Carolina, I think today, if I'm not mistaken, but normally that would happen a lot quicker. How's the transfer portal affecting your kids and your programs? Because I know both of you guys were hosting all and still are hosting all kinds of college coaches to come in here to look at the programs or whatnot. Have you noticed a difference with the transfer portal in terms of frequency, how often these coaches are coming by or when they're coming by and that kind of thing?
I don't deal with it as much. I mean, you see what you see. I can just tell you this. Ultimately, it's a numbers game. You call it what you want to. It's a numbers game. Basically, the pool is deeper now. And what I mean by the pool is deeper, you're at a university, and you basically were trying to recruit what you're recruiting, and you're saying there for a while you couldn't recruit anybody else but high school kids. You couldn't recruit anybody. Now, guess what you're having to do? You're having to recruit college kids. So you're recruiting older kids. So it's basically made the pool deeper. And it's and the reason, so now hey, I'm at a university and I have struggled. Well, I've got to win next year. So if I've got to win next year, I'm not going to go get the guy at East Forsyth who's had a great career and he's done a great job and would do really well in our program, but I'm not sure if he's ready to go year one.
Year one, yeah.
He might could go year two, but I ain't got year one. I only can get it done in year one. So then it becomes a big issue. So I was at a university today in our state, and literally he had an unbelievable year, did a great job. And the guy's made the turn the corner, done a heck of a job. And they talked about how many kids have left their place to go to other universities. And now they're trying to find other people to fill them. And I'm not saying they want to keep where they're at. So what are they looking for? They're looking for, I can sign an 18-year-old or 19-year-old, or I can sign a kid that's 21, 22 who's been there. I mean, it's a numbers game.
It's almost
maybe
like
age and numbers of
it's
people.
It's like college free agency, kind of like what's happening right now. Because it's also teaching the kids that if you're not starting right away, there's some place where you can go and start. I mean, you can just leave. Like it's the whole participation trophy generation in my mind. It's catering to them, the one where everybody gets a ribbon, everybody gets a trophy. You're not starting this year. You ain't got to wait till next year or work harder than the next guy. You just go right down the street to the next school and play. Coach Will, your thoughts on this? How's the transfer portal affecting recruiting over in Kernersville? And how do you think it's going to, well, the toothpaste is out the bottle now. They can't really fix it. I'm not really sure what to do.
And that's it. And in talking to coaches, I mean, these last 2 weeks, you kind of have a barrage of coaches coming in. I'm sure another thing Adrian might not miss very much in coaching, because you have coaches at programs like East and West. I mean, you have 5, 6. It's good to talk to guys, but anyways, it gets old. I've had guys from Carolina, Wake Forest, NC State, Duke, Alabama, Georgia, everybody in Ole Miss. Ain't none of them happy with what's going on. They don't like the transfer portal. It's something they not us, they kind of created on their own, and now they're kind of upset they did. And then you add in NLI right now, and it's just a mess. And it's not what amateur sports was made to be. And it's killing it. I'm afraid the direction it's going in. I have a brother-in-law who played at NC State as a walk-on. Okay. He's not getting NLIs and stuff like that. This joker still made money from what the university get. This ain't like the olden days when me and Coach Snow were in college and played football, where you actually struggled for meals. These kids are just fine. They're getting free educations, free everything. And I'm worried about our sport. because, there's a bunch of us, we call us the last Cowboys because it's kind of the last kind of thing where you got to earn your way football. And once again, I don't want to dog other sports, but in football, and I'm afraid we're taking that away with all this right now.
Yeah, that's my worry too, that as we get deeper and deeper into this, the whole, call it the AAU mentality, where it kind of started there, where kids would find a team, or their parents really would find a team that their kid could get playing time immediately. And if they didn't, the parent would pitch a fit, pull the kid out, go someplace. And then the kid learns from that behavior, like, hey, I'm supposed to have this. I'm Bob Jones or whatever. Like, this is supposed to be me, even though he might not be that good. Like it could be the parent just peppering them with it. And I see so many, like, and you guys can talk to this too. There's so many parents that are just out there, like in the crowd, like just everywhere. I see it everywhere. It's a lot of moms too. It's crazy. Where like they're just so into it that they might be affecting the kid, in terms of like their career and how they're perceived. Like it's wild that these parents now are just, I guess, vicariously living through the kids, like what they didn't do in high school or whatever. You see a lot of dads like that. I've seen a lot of dads the past couple of years that are not necessarily overprotective, but they want what's best for their kid, but they don't want their kid to have to go through what they went through in terms of the struggle, which might in the end be bad. These kids have to learn how to fail. And I don't know if they really know how to fail, especially after the past 3 years with everything the world's gone through. I don't know if they're, not all of them, but there's a lot, and I've met a lot from both of your programs that are wired just fine. They got through everything. They're great kids. They got good family structures and everything else, but that's not every school. Like East and West are not the same as every other school that's out there or whatnot. It's kind of different. And that was actually going to lead me into this question here. What's the number one thing you think a high school needs to have a successful sports program? Not just a successful football program, but like across the board, because both of you guys are at schools that are relatively good in multiple sports every year. And a lot of that has to do with what you guys have in place there. If you had to name one thing a high school one thing a high school needs to have in place in order to have a successful sports program, what would you say that would be?
One word, but it's going to encompass a lot of things. It's support. It's support. You got to have support. But that encompasses that word sounds a little small. There's not many letters in it. But ultimately, if you don't have support from the person at the top, then add it to the athletic director, then add it to the people that help you do what you need to do to get it where it needs to be, whether it be athletic administration, whether it be the people itself, the community, financially. They the reason that East Forsyth has done as well as they have is they've had great coaches, but they also have had great people above them that have basically, I still remember telling this, and I don't even think I've ever really even mentioned it. One day when I got back to West Forsyth and Todd had he had turned the corner, I stood in the end zone and Miss Gainey was down there. And I thanked her for basically sticking with him, because a lot of times those people don't stick with anything because they feel like, oh God, they got to switch and run and oh God, we got to change, because early when he got there, it wasn't good.
It was hard times. It was hard times at East, like for
and ultimately and then at the first he had White, then he had Plaster, both that really cared and wanted to do a great job, worked really hard, and then they basically kept it and kept going. And we see the vision, we see where we're going, and we're going to get there. And they did, but what did that come back to? Came back to support. You got to have support. If you don't have support, it is not going to happen. I have had the luxury over the last 2 months to be in a lot of schools. I literally can be there 5 minutes and I can tell you if they got support.
Yeah. If I'm
I feel bad for them.
the same way. I
feel bad for them. And
you can feel it when you drive on campus. Like when you're in the community, you can kind of feel the vibe. Yeah, there's a difference there. Coach Willert, you said Coach Snow's best friend. You said that you kind of mentioned this earlier on in this segment about how you didn't realize how big a deal it was going to be in 2018 and 19 when you guys went back to back and won 4A titles to the community. And a little bit of that is there because the community was hungry. Like they wanted it and they felt like, they had an opportunity to go get it. And it was after years and years of kind of brick building. Talk to me a little bit about, what was the number one thing you needed to have in order to be able to get East to where they're at now?
I mean, Adrian hit it right on the head. I mean, after 5 years, we were an average team after 5 years. And Miss Gainey stuck with me, God bless her soul. And to this day, after every season, before every season, she still texts me, and that's what it's about. And I tell these young coaches and coaches maybe on my staff or friends that I know, well, I want to be a head coach. And I said, you better make sure your administration of your high school wants you to be successful. Because at the end of the day, if you don't, it don't work. And I've been blessed. I've had Gainey, Bass, and now Hall, and we all understand the importance of it. And Miss Gainey helped me get to where I am today. And I thank her and Tim White by sticking by me when people were ready to fire me after year 3 or 4. Unfortunately now, Des and Coach Snow will understand this as a head coach. Now I lose 1 game a year or maybe 3 games a year and they're ready to fire me. I mean, it's a crazy profession we're in, but it got pretty brutal here this year when we lost 1 game this year. And
the last one,
yeah, I mean, but Adrian's right. It's the administration. If you don't have that support, it's tough at a high school, and you need it, at a county level. And, I know me and Adrian ain't going to speak a lot about that, but that's important too, because there's a lot of counties that don't.
Yeah. And again, it's always, for me, it's the schools that it's not just one sport. Cause I've been to the schools where they support like one sport heavy, and that team, usually it's football, they get all the benefits from it and everything else kind of suffers. So everyone else is kind of envious of the football team or something like that. I never catch that vibe when I'm at West or at East Forsyth. Like, hell, I've told y'all before, the biggest broadcast that we've done out of the live high school sporting events that we've done over the past 3 or 4 years, it hasn't been football. It hasn't been basketball. It was East Forsyth softball team in the state championship. Like, there was thousands of people streaming that online. And we were like, we thought it was a mistake. Like, we thought it was an error, like with the computer while we were doing it. And the numbers just kept ticking up. And we were like, wow, we didn't know softball was that, popular like that. And we went back and did it again when they went back last year. And it's that whole administration.
This is a big key. If you go to West Forsyth today and you ask any football player, any assistant that worked for me, what's Coach Snow's favorite quote? And this is a big deal. A lot of people talk a good game, though. Got to be careful with that in the sport. What you do is so loud, I do not hear what you say. There are a lot of people will say, oh, wow, we really do support these guys. We support them. We do this. We support them. No, there's a difference. When the rubber meets the road and people are going, are you going to stand on top of the boat and are you going to be down in the boat?
Yeah.
That's the ones you want supporting you. That, when they're coming after you, it's tough enough to do the job. But when we don't need to be shot at in the building.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, at that point, we're okay. We don't know. The friendly fire is so he's got a tough enough job to do what he's doing. But now he's got to know the people in the building, they're in the foxhole with him and they're good. So you ain't worried about that. We're worried about the kids. We're about getting them right. And yeah, we got to worry about some mess going on the outside. But at the end of the day, that is support. Got to have it.
Something too that I've noticed, I noticed it last year when we started putting the elements together for the East Forsyth Sports Network. We started doing some baseball and softball, and we had already done a little bit of basketball too. I began to notice that even down at the student level, the players from other teams go and support the other teams. Like, I'll see football players at the basketball game. I'll see football players at the baseball game. The softball semifinals or whatever it was that we had at East in the state playoffs. When I showed up there, I didn't realize the crowd was going to be there. They had, trucks parked out in the outfield. You had football team out there. Like the basketball team, like you had coaches from like different sports out there supporting. It was just, it feels like a community. And I try to explain it to people. Me and Coach Willert, we try to explain it to people all the time. It's just different. It's just a different vibe going on. And that was organically grown. It's not something you can just plop down and be like, here we go. Let's do it. Like, that took years to kind of bring back.
And it comes from our administrator. We got a couple of assistant principals, and I'm going to plug one of them, Julie Nichols, who me and her didn't like each other at all when she first came. I mean, seriously, we butted heads, and everybody on the, you know me now, I'm pretty headstrong.
No,
but this lady has embraced East Forsyth and what she does for our student athletes and her emotions and her time. And we have other ones also that matters because the student body sees that too. And West Forsyth has their atmosphere. If you go to their other games, it's more than just football. It's other sports and the kids supporting. There's nothing better than when I go to a baseball, softball, or basketball game and I see 10, 15, 20, 30 football kids there. So that's awesome to me. And then I see my assistant coaches there, and I'm sure Coach Snow went to every game at West Forsyth. I'd call him at night. I said, "What are you doing?" "I'm at the basketball game. I'm at the wrestling match." But you got to eat it, you got to live it, you got to do it. And both of us have been blessed, I'm still blessed, and Adrian was blessed to be. We had two schools that really supported us for the most part.
I'm gonna do this commercial free. We're gonna blow through where the commercial break could be so we can keep going because I want to get to the NFL talk a little bit before I get y'all out of here. Before we get out of high school stuff though, quick word on your colleague Jimmy Teague, Reidsville head coach. It was announced today by I think Brian Hall is the first one I saw from WFMY to confirm it that he is officially retiring from coaching. He finishes with a 339 win to 58 loss total and 8 state titles.
58 losses
over I didn't say how many years it said he had coached, but 339 to 58. That ain't bad, Coach Teague. That ain't bad at all. We didn't do any Reidsville games except for state title games because of where they are. If you go out to Reidsville, it's just hard to get a reception to get it back out. But we have been well aware of Reidsville over the years. Me, Joe Serrera, Dave Pulaski, we would have a running joke on Saturday mornings when we were doing high school huddle. How many points did Reidsville score last night? Did they get over 50 again? It literally, it became just every week they were just dropping it on people. Talk to me about Jimmy Teague, and you guys have come, cross paths. Your thoughts on the man and the program that he built out in Reidsville, and how do you think how do they replace a guy like Jimmy Teague?
You don't. You don't. He's first and foremost, he's not a great young man. He's a great man. He really is. He's a great man. He handles himself with class. He's very, I said it before we got started, he's very unassuming. He's probably the exact opposite of Snow. He's not a big talker. He doesn't talk a lot, but when he talks, he's kind of like E.F. Hutton. You got to know, and some of you guys probably know what that means. Some of them young guys won't know what it is, but ultimately he is good. And I'll give a quick. We're doing a 7-on-7 at West Forsyth, and coach is very, and we had one of our kids, great kid. I don't know what he hit one of his kids. He hit him. The kid goes up for a ball, and I don't think he meant to do it. And our kid just hit him. I'm gonna tell you right now, my man went from 0 to 100. He's out there just, and he was hot. And this great thing about it was we took care of the situation. He wasn't mad at me. He was mad at the kid. And our kid was great. He as soon as he did it, he was like, "Sorry, no." And I kicked him out. He didn't play the rest of the 7-on-7. He was good. But coach, man, so he got some fire in him now. You might not think he does, but he does. And just by talking to him. But great Christian. I was over there right before Christmas, and he no inclinations on my end.
Yeah.
But
that's just who he is, and he handles himself the right way.
Reidsville was one of those schools where it didn't matter what classification they were in. You know what I mean? Because I think me and you have talked about this before, Todd, where it was we were going over schools you'd like to scrimmage or schools you'd like to play, in that pocket before conference starts. You got those 3 games or so, whatever. And it's always Dudley, Grimsley, Reidsville. It seems like it was those 3 that you wanted to kind of match up against. But I don't remember us playing Reidsville in a regular.
So we scrimmage Reidsville every year. Jimmy put me on there we tried to get we just could never get us games lined up, but we did scrimmage every year. I scrimmaged them this past year, and I knew they're going to be special. I do remember that 7-on-7 story because Snow came up and told me, he goes, "Oh my God, Jimmy T just lost it on me." And now understand, me and Coach Snow kind of have some egos, maybe. So we think we're the big dogs.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, we knew we were little puppies because when Jimmy was, because Jimmy is, and I remember it, Adrian. You're like, "Oh my God, Jimmy just lost it on me." I'm like, "No way," you know.
But because nobody thought it was him.
It is.
And the crazy thing about it is, they're going to continue to be good.
Yes,
unless
they
get
will.
somebody in there that basically screws it up. He set it up the right way. They have 2 freshmen. They've got 1 freshman, 6'7", 2
tight end. Yeah,
the tight end defense.
Yeah.
I go to their game against Maiden. I'm standing on the field because I'm not going to sit up there in the fans. I'm not going to do that ever. And I'm standing on the field, and this guy walks up. I don't know who he is, and you know me. And I just start talking to the dude. And come to find out, he's the superintendent of the schools in Rockingham County. And I said, "Hey, what grade is 17 in?" And I think he was 17. I think that was right. He laughed. He said, "Oh, he's a freshman." I mean, like, dude, don't he look?
No,
he looks the part.
I think he's like the number 2 tight end in the country or something right now.
Yeah,
won't mess with him.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me tell one Jimmy story. So this is how locked in he was. The weekend before state championship, a bunch of us coaches got invited down to the Carolina Panthers, and we're in this suite, and Jimmy was one of them. And we're getting presented at halftime. And I kid you, I mean, it's a pretty big deal. They take, I think, what is it, Adrian, when the Panthers reckon that there's 6 coaches from North Carolina and 6 from South Carolina.
Yeah. Yep.
Jimmy leaves before halftime. Says, I gotta go get ready for a state championship. This man has won over 350 games, 7 state titles.
8.
So 8 at the time. It was 7, and he's like, "Hey man, I gotta go." I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna go." And you know what? The Panthers were like, "Yep, you can." Now, if I probably would have said that, they would have looked at me and said, "Who do you?" Jimmy T could go, man. That's how special that man is. I mean, a great man.
I didn't see how many years it was, but yeah, that's a 339-58 career record at Reidsville and 8 state titles.
Now he was at some other places. I mean, he was at
and he left for a while because he was at Greensboro College, wasn't he?
Well, he went to GW Danville. He was at Greensboro College for a little while. Then he came back. Then he was at Garinger at one time back in the day, and
something too. The reason why people tell me the Reidsville is so good, and it's something that we don't have here in Forsyth County, although I'm hearing that we might be getting it soon, is middle school football. And that's something that I've heard people say, that Reidsville, basically they have it down where the middle school kids are running the same stuff they're going to run when they get up to high school. So when they get there, they're off and running 9th grade on. They already know what they're supposed to be doing. There's no installation period or whatever. They've been playing it since 6th grade. And it's like an extension of the program. So I think we don't have middle school football here. We have, it's not, I guess it's Pop Warner. I don't know what.
Pop Warner or whatever.
AYF is what they call it.
Yeah. Hey, this is a whole nother segment if you get me and Snow talking about middle school football. So
I didn't realize I was talking to my cousin.
36 minutes in, and we take 36 more minutes.
When I was a kid, I played Mighty Might football, and I was like, enough of this. I'm going back to basketball. But that was back when, like, this is 86, 87. There were still weight limits. Like, you couldn't be a certain weight and play like in it. And I was talking to my cousin the other day. His kid is playing it. And he was like, nah, they did away with all that. Like, now it's by age. It's like under 15, under 14, under 13. But if you got a 240-pound 13-year-old kid, he can play with the 13-year-olds. There's no cutoff anymore. I was like, that doesn't sound right. He was like, yeah, the whole thing's messed up. So
I have been again, traveled all over the state. I was in 4 counties today picking up helmets for middle school football in Guilford, Richmond. I was in Moore County. I was in where else did I go? Alamance. Yeah, I was in Alamance. And in the day, I think the biggest thing, and I know I'm trying to not get into it because I don't know if this is really where you want to go, but
we're gonna move it over.
But ultimately, I think what it does for you is it helps a population at the time that they needed to be helped to kind of help put them in a space where, one, they can be successful, and two, we can dangle the carrot. You can dangle the carrot. You know, I forever have always said there were a lot of people that came to us for sight to get an education. Oh, that's great. That's right. And I said, and then there are people that came to us for sight to play football.
Yep.
But through football, they're going to get an education.
And get a lot further than they may have without.
Just different paths. Whatever it makes, you know, at East Forsyth, whatever you need to do to make the school smaller, you need to do it. Whatever that is. Football, awesome, do it. You want to be in the marching band? Oh, great, do it. And you want to be in JROTC? Do it. Good. You know, whatever that is, you got to get that done. And that's a key.
Adrian Snow, Todd Willert here with us on the second hour of the rundown, commercial-free hour of the rundown, special for you guys. Real quick, I'm going to shift gears before I get you guys out of here. It's conference championship weekend, hour one. We kind of dissected it a little bit. Let me get your opinions on these games here. NFC Championship, Philadelphia Eagles against the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers have not lost since they've won like 12 straight. So they haven't lost in like 3 months. And I don't know how you're supposed to beat them because Brock Purdy is the quarterback and they're still just humming along. Who do you got in this game? The Eagles were the 1 seed pretty much all year. Jalen Hurts gets hurt with the shoulder, but he looked fine last week. Eagles 49ers, it's in Philly. It's the 3:30 game on Sunday. Who are you going with and why?
What's the weather supposed to be like?
You know what? That I don't know. I can find that out real quick. Let's see.
I'm not saying
I can tell you this. I like what Jalen Hurts is doing because I like what he overcame, how he stuck it out in Alabama and all that. But then to hear the story with Mr. Irrelevant, you know, I mean, what a great game. I'm going to be lucky just to sit there and cheer and all that. But I'm going to go with the Eagles for one simple reason, because they're named the Eagles.
There you go.
I knew Snow.
The eye roll from Adrian Snow. To answer
He'll placating to the fans. Good job. Proud of you.
On Sunday in Philly, it's supposed to be 53 degrees and mostly cloudy, no rain or anything. 40. So
I tell you what, though, the 49ers right now, they can run the ball. They've got weapons on the perimeter. Not saying the Eagles don't. And they're really good. They're really good defensively. I mean, they just, you know, and again, the Eagles have been good too. I don't know. They seem to have some more. I don't know.
They got weapons everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, the 49ers are the number one defense in the league. The Eagles are number 2. So it's the top 2 defenses overall in the league.
And that's good. I think it'll come down to this. When you especially play really, really good defense, and the times that we played East and we both had really good defenses, I think it comes back to mistakes. You got to decrease the mistakes. They're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. That's part of the game. But ultimately, it's limiting those mistakes, whatever it might be. You can't give them an extra possession by throwing it to them and putting it on the ground. And special teams will end up being big, especially when it comes to this.
This is a question I thought of all day, and I just remembered I wanted to ask both of you guys this before we get to Bengals Chiefs. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have an elite defense or an elite quarterback?
Me, you know, we've had some good quarterbacks. I don't know if I use the word. I mean, we've had some really good ones. Having elite, the problem with having just an elite quarterback, you got to have some other things around it. You better have some people to catch it. You better have some, depending upon what kind. What would you deem elite? Like elite, is he a runner? Is he a passer? Is he
a guy that can put the offense on his back and score? Like a guy that can get a team down a field when you need a 7 and you can go down and get it off of his back, whether it's him running the ball, completing, whatever it might be.
Darian Slade for us was a guy that was that way. And ultimately he gave us a chance because he was back there with the ball in his hand. But I don't know. As a coach, I'm more of a, I think, and that's just kind of the way I was brought up. If you have an elite defense, you got a chance to win.
Coach, what would you? What, I keep changing.
And he's right. Desmond, hey, you're gonna have to make a segment. We'll have a lot of fun out here, Desmond. Got my red Solo cup going, and we're gonna have fun, baby.
I saw it. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have an elite defense or an elite quarterback? Because it's one or both.
You know what? It's such a loaded question. I want a quarterback because I think before you can get anywhere, you have to have a quarterback. But you're going to have an elite defense. I'm going to tell you what. Right now, the 4 teams that are in the finals have great quarterbacks, and you got to have that great quarterback to get there. But now you got to have a defense to win it all. If that makes sense, Des. And I know I'm not really answering your question.
No.
There's the one team, if you remember, the Baltimore Ravens. You remember who their linebacker was when they won. Do you remember who their quarterback was?
In 2000? Was that Trent Dilfer?
It was Trent Dilfer, I believe. I'm not for sure, but I bet you know who the linebacker was and who their and the Goose and all those guys. So
that was my point. I was like, I'd rather have an elite. And I asked this because of the Panthers and to an extent, the 49ers, they've gotten this far and they've basically had 3 quarterbacks this year.
Mm-hmm.
They have everything else. Like Brock Purdy can just basically don't lose the game and we'll take care of everything else. But like I want, with them hiring Frank Reich here, the Panthers, I want an elite defense. And by that, I mean, I want a defense where you say the name of it, you know exactly what you're talking about. 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens, 02 Buccaneers. Like I want something like that where like you can basically, the offense ain't getting off that day, it's all right. The defense is only going to allow 9 points anyway. Like, I mean, you know, like that's different to me than having an elite quarterback because an elite quarterback can get shut down. Like the Panthers had an elite quarterback for about 3-year stretch in Cam Newton, and you could still beat them with the elite quarterback, but an elite defense.
But ultimately, the way you beat them is you better have a good defense.
Right.
You know, so
elite defense can cancel out an elite quarterback, I guess, where we're going there. So, Bengals Chiefs. I think this is for the face of the NFL between Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes. I'm so impressed with Joe Burrow. Like, I can't find a flaw in this kid's game. Like, and I was slow to come to him too.
He's probably got a flaw, but I'm gonna tell you what, the dude has moxie, and that is a big deal.
He reminds me of Joe Montana a little bit.
Like when he steps on across those lines, he might not be the best, but he thinks he's the best. And because he thinks he's the best, the rest of those jokers play like he's the best. Oh. And guess what? That means he's the best. You know, but that other dog will hunt too, though.
The Bengals, when they showed up in Buffalo last week, from the very beginning, it looked like they were at home. I was like, this is going to be our game. We're the better team. We're going to show you why. Buffalo just looked like off. I can't understand why Buffalo can't run the ball when you're in Buffalo. Like they've kind of like ignored it completely to throw. But this ankle thing with Pat Mahomes, I saw him yesterday on TV without a limp. I don't understand how, because I saw the injury and a high ankle sprain. Jonathan Stewart, who co-hosts Believe in Panthers with me, he was like a high ankle sprain. He's going to be out there running on a nub pretty much on 6 days. Like, it's hard to come back from that, but we've seen him do it before. If he's able, well, it sounds like he's going to be ready to go. Who you got, Bengals Chiefs? Yeah.
Bengals play pretty good defense ting and
they got some homegrown kids.
I think they're probably, I don't know where they rank, but they seem, did they rank better defensively?
I want to say the Bengals defense does rank better. I mean, the Bengals have won the last 3 games against the Chiefs. 2 of those have been at Arrowhead. Actually, one of them was last year in the AFC Championship at Arrowhead. So they've gone into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs the last 3 times they played them. They're not scared of them. They're not scared of the Chiefs at all.
I think you got to go Bengals.
Well,
that's just,
and I tell you what, Patrick, I love Patrick. He's my favorite quarterback in the league. Okay, and he's a dude, and everybody's oh my gosh, I can't believe he did this on a sprained ankle. I do. That's who he is. He's my favorite player. I hate Aaron Rodgers. I saw something on the thing, so hopefully Don't talk about Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't even trade for him for Adrian Snow. So, or I would take Adrian Snow over him even. But at the end of the day, I got to go Bengals. And once again, I'm going to be a homer. We got guys from the area on the team. You know, you got Bates, who was at Wake Forest.
Yeah.
These guys that play for him on DJ and those guys we played against. I'm sure Adrian did too. You played against them when they're in high school. So I got to cheer for Cincinnati.
So I think both of you guys picked Bengals, Eagles, I think, didn't you?
Hold on. Did Snow say Eagles? Because I want to hear him say that he picks the Eagles.
No, Bengals.
East Forsyth Eagles.
Who are the Bengals going to play?
I promise you, I'll pick them. I'll pick them next year. Good luck. Get ready. If you don't go 10-0, something's wrong.
Oh God, here we go.
And JP was supposed to be here today. I see JP Mundy's a bad athlete.
Yeah, he pulled his hamstring getting out of bed today.
Pulled a hammy. Had to call in, and
I can outrun JP Monday any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
That is a race that I would sign up to see. I would love to see that.
Bring it up. I'll get my mind right.
I'm gonna ask him. Hey, I'm like, hey, you got challenged to a race, buddy. We gotta make this happen. I'm gonna get you guys out of here. I appreciate you guys doing this for us. Head coach Todd Willert from East Forsyth and free man Adrian Snow just wandering.
No, not free anymore. You got to pay for it now.
Yeah, you got to pay for it now. He's wandering his own path.
He's gotten smart. He learned how to. He's getting paid finally.
There you go. There you go. So definitely, well, I'm gonna try to get you guys back, throughout the summer or whatnot to get your opinions on some things. Although you're gonna be busy, so I just appreciate the friendship both of you guys have given me over the past couple of years and getting to know your programs better. And I hope that we've been able to shine a light on those programs in exchange for it. So thank both of you for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Giddy up.
We'll be back just a bit. You're listening to The Rundown, WWBG 1470 AM and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
You're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson.